Hello, listeners. Welcome to episode 23 of the Avocado Gamescast. I'm Merve, the host of this shit show. Today we're going to be talking about the year's biggest video game event, E3, and share our thoughts on the convention that just happened. But before that, let's meet the folks who are joining me in this discussion. First up, he probably majored in art or business or something. It's Science is Bad.
It's actually business/art. We abbreviated it to BART from Simpsons University. Yes,
just like the San Francisco transit system. Next, he has a degree in stealth and subterfuge from Gamer University. It's Ninjaneer.
Only 5 more credits till I get my master's.
Nice. Moving on up in the world. He wrote his master's thesis on the depiction of kangaroos and koalas in anime. It's Ben.
Good morning.
And finally, he majored in pwning noobs and minored in wrecking scrubs. It's the Kappa.
Hey, what's up, guys?
So, this is an interesting podcast for us because it's sort of like our anniversary. When we started this podcast last year, it was the post-E3 show. So it's kind of full circle. And it's nice to have been able to do this for like a year. How are you guys doing, by the way?
Great.
Great.
Good. It's been a good year of podcasting.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to us.
Happy anniversary. We're the best of the best, apparently. Since
this is the best video
anniversary.
game podcast on the entire internet. Possibly the best podcast ever made. Just saying.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think we're pretty damn good.
I think it's mostly because of the editing.
Yeah, the editing is top notch here.
Yeah, I think that talent is very important in this show.
I think it's mostly because of the international guests.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, it's true. We have people from all over the world. We have America, Poland, Australia, Canada. If you count where I'm originally from, we're kind of all over international. Yeah, I like how we're doing that. So we play video games. Apparently, that's something we do. What have you guys been playing lately?
A lot of things.
A lot of things. Science. Just name one thing you've been playing. Tell me about one thing you've been playing.
Shit. I've been playing so many games. I'm not going to I'm just going to focus on one, right? But yeah, I played Persona 5, but I completed that. I played Nier Automata and completed that. But recently I played Injustice 2, and
nice.
Yeah, and I really like that. It surprised me with how accessible it is and how fun the story mode is. So
yeah, the story mode's like
the spatial animation in that game.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's on par with like Until Dawn or it's that caliber of facial animation. You just like
it's probably like one of the best facial animations of the year, and it's a fucking fighting game.
It's amazing, and the story mode is really cinematic. And, while it's not, incredibly deep or anything, the story is kind of like, it's a standard superhero saving the Earth story. But it's the characters are nicely written and, it's very cinematic. And the technology, the facial animation thing is still, it's very impressive. So it's really fun. All the way through, and you kind of have to complete it 1.5 times, I guess, because there are 2 endings. But you can complete it in 8 hours. I think I completed it. And,
pretty solid for a fighting game story mode.
It doesn't feel like an afterthought. Like in most of these kind of games, like recently Street Fighter or a couple of others. I don't know about Tekken. I haven't played that one. I've heard some good things.
Didn't Street Fighter...
Have you played any of the previous NetherRealm ones?
I didn't like Injustice 1 as much. I played that before I played Injustice 2 because I already had it on PC from some kind of a deal or
Steam
something.
Sale.
Yeah, Steam sale, some kind of a thing. So I played through that, and it was fine. It didn't feel as well made as this one. And the the MK9 story was pretty good. I really liked that one, but the MK10 storyline was pretty weak. So this one was great. But what impressed me the most about Injustice 2 is how, as I said, accessible it is. Because this the story begins with a tutorial, and man, it's the best tutorial I have ever seen in a fighting game. It actually shows you a bunch of stuff that no other fighting game ever does. Like it shows you like, oh, you can cancel this move into this move, and oh, you can actually like do cancels anytime you want, sometime like in this situation, and oh, it's a good idea to do this, and oh, you can actually like cross hit somebody, like you jump and you kind of hit him from the front, but it hits him from the back, and that's kind of like a thing to do. Yeah, that thing. So it teaches you a bunch of like advanced stuff in a very like easy way. Like you can at any time you can press a button and see how the look. It like quickly shows how the computer does it. So like it's very well done. And not only that, after you go into the story mode, but in the main menu you can like enter the tutorial mode, and there's a tutorial for every character, every playable character. So you can like see what ability Superman has, and how to play with him, and what moves transition into other moves, and how to do combos with him. It's really well done. Like I got better at fighting games by playing this game, which is like a first for me. So yeah, very 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 pleased with that. It's kind of amazing. I've never seen a tutorial as well made as
Sounds
this
like
one.
they're taking a big page out of Have you ever played any of the Arc System Works fighting games like Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue, that kind of shit?
Yeah.
They had some crazy in-depth tutorials.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember that.
It seems like they're actually intent on teaching players how to actually play, whereas like fighting games can be pretty inaccessible to a lot of people because they seem like this sort of arcane things that like there are experts and people who just don't know how to play them just button mash. So it seems like they're trying to get people from the latter group into the former group. Which I think
there's
fighting
still a
games can use
weird
a lot
like
of.
mindset that a lot of people like are really good at fighting games now, and a lot of people came up playing in the arcades where it's just fucking figure it out or get bodied. And I think a lot of people want to continue that tradition in them, even though they shouldn't, because that's dumb.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction, definitely. And like they even have like fun little like when there's a window, like in the tutorial, when there's like a couple of millisecond window where you have to perform a move, they like pause the action and highlight when the thing has to be inputted. Like there's like it's very good. So
And I completely skipped the tutorials in that game. I need to go back and look at them now.
Yeah, definitely. It's for me. It took a little bit to get through the tutorial because some of the moves were like kind of difficult to pull off, but I think they were easy enough for like anyone to actually like concentrate a little bit and like get through it. And man, it's very good. So yeah, definitely enjoying that. I didn't like Injustice 1 very much. I thought it was okay, but this game is fantastic.
How do you feel about the armor system?
The what? The what now?
The armor system?
Oh, that one. That thing. I haven't been playing too much. I finished the story mode. I've played a little bit of the multiverse stuff and got some loot out of it. It's fine. I think it's a good hook for like playing a lot of the multiverse stuff because it got me interested in it. But I wouldn't be using that in like single versus matches with another person because I don't like the concept of like being better because you're
ranked
really
matches turns off all stats. So like you can dress yourself up, but the stats are just turned off. My main problem with the armor system was like I remember I was mainly playing Cheetah, and like I just played her all the time because she's like a fun rushdown character. And I'd go through like you get those like little loot boxes and everything, and I'd open like 7 of them and get like 12 pieces for Deadshot and 1 piece for Cheetah, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't want to play Deadshot.
Yeah. It does a little bit of that, and there's like some of the things in loot boxes are like special moves. Like
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Like, yeah, every character has 2 special moves that are locked, and you have to like find them in loot boxes. That's kind of weird. It kind of adds little things to your special moves that are already in that character. Like every character has a move.
The only thing is, I'm not sure how that works on like the armor stats being turned off in versus mode.
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
if you have moves locked away, that seems kind of dumb.
Yeah, that thing's kind of weird. But everything, like anything, like the loot thing doesn't bother me. Actually, it's kind of interesting because like, I got something to like look forward to, like playing through the multiplayer stuff. Like normally it would be boring, like ladder matches, but right now it's kind of like, oh, I get like progress with a character. It kind of feels less pointless than in the previous fighting games. It's fun. It's better than most fighting games, and when it comes to that, so the single player content is actually like there's a lot of it in this game, and I still haven't gone online because I fear like I will be like decimated, which probably that would definitely happen. I'll stick to playing single player for a while. Maybe if I'll feel confident with my Green Lantern, I'll go online.
All right, so that's Injustice 2. Ninjaneer, what have you been playing?
Oh, that's perfect because I actually have the exact opposite game than what Science is Bad was playing. I've been playing Tekken 7.
Oh, Nilly.
Is definitely way less accessible.
Wow.
There is absolutely no form of like training in the practice mode. Like the practice mode is like 150% bare bones. It's here's the move lists and do them.
Give you fucking 200 variations of punches.
Yes, exactly. And so basically I've been going in there, and basically that is great game. I love it.
Cool.
I also had to get the Rude Awakening that my main character that I've played since Tekken 3 is actually considered a menace because I play Ling Xiao Yu.
Yeah.
And so I went on like YouTube.
Stick with the panda, right?
Yeah. So I went on YouTube to like try to find tutorials for like combos and stuff. And of course we don't have anything yet because Japan had the game for 2 years before we even got it. So, and I don't even think they make tutorials for anybody. So when I went and looked online, everything I saw on YouTube was, this is how you beat Ling. Because no one is trying to play her. Everybody's trying to beat her. Because apparently her shenanigans are off the chart.
Cool. Is there
Huh?
Eddie Gordo in this game?
Yeah, Eddie Gordo's in this game, but everybody knows how to beat Eddie Gordo.
I guess so, yeah.
His stuff is is pretty simple if you actually know how to block. Like if you know how to block his attacks low and high and all that stuff, you can usually actually if you block him, you can usually get him in stun and then just beat the crap out of him. Right. And plus all of his moves have such wind up on it that you can actually put a move in before he hits you. But with Xiao Yu, all of her stuff is based on sidestepping around you. So if you try to throw a move in the middle of one of her moves, she could actually move around you and then possibly get behind you, and then you can't do anything because you can't really block when your back is to her.
Right.
And there's also the fact that she actually has a stance where her back is to you, so she has attacks off of that too. So she's not powerful, but she's not always at a disadvantage.
Okay.
And so I had to figure that out, but I'm having fun learning juggle combos and all types of stuff. But yeah, as far as all the accessibility stuff, that's not here.
Like how's the story mode?
I think the most accessibility thing they added to it is just fucking play Akuma and play Street Fighter.
Yeah, it's crazy the fact that dude they took Street Fighter 4 Akuma with FADCs, focus attack dash cancels, and all that stuff.
He's got fucking meter and shit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a meter. He has focus attack. He has everything from Street Fighter 4. They just dropped him into Tekken.
With him as well.
Huh?
Isn't it up to jump with him as well instead of sidestep?
Well, no, everybody is up to jump.
The sidestep is double tap, right?
It's a single tap for you gotta do like a real quick tap for a sidestep, or you hold up to jump.
Yeah.
But he's got everything from Street Fighter 4, but he also still has the Tekken juggle system.
That's interesting. Do you think he was just made for Tekken X Street Fighter that they were making, and they were just made Akuma, and they said, okay, we're scrapping the project Tekken X Street Fighter and sticking with Tekken 7, but we will include Akuma because he's basically done.
Oh, I don't think they dropped the project because they keep saying the project.
More like
this is the demo.
Proof of concept. I know.
Yeah,
I reckon after how badly Street Fighter X Tekken shit the bed, they were just waiting for everyone to forget that game before they start making their one that isn't shit. Hopefully.
Yeah,
it's been quite a while though. It's been a while.
Yeah, basically Akuma is the demo for when they make Tekken X Street Fighter, because the thing is, everybody wanted to know how does Street Fighter work in Tekken, because you got things like projectiles that doesn't really exist in Tekken. If there are projectiles, it's like they're really quick projectiles. They don't stay on the screen that long. Like it's maybe like Devil's.
One thing I think wondering. How does Devil Jin's eye lasers interact with Akuma's fireballs? Do they cancel each other out like a fireball in Street Fighter, or what?
No. Well, I think anytime one of the devils go and attack when Akuma uses a fireball, I think the laser wins every time.
Okay.
Because it's an unblockable.
Right.
Oh shit, this is unblockable. Fuck, I hate Devil Jin.
Yeah. Well, it's not just Devil Jin anymore. You have Devil Jin, you have Devil Kazuya.
And shit?
Huh?
I was saying, is it like Devil Kazuya and shit?
Yeah. Devil Kazuya is in the game, and you also have Devil Kazumi.
Okay.
Oh, she has a devil mode?
She has a boss. She has a boss mode that's basically a devil mode.
I'm Googling this now. Does her tiger get eye lasers?
No, she doesn't get eye lasers, but she is tough as all hell. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. I've only had to fight her during there's one of the modes that's what is it, treasure mode or whatever. That's the mode where you get all the cosmetic stuff. So you basically just fight people at random. And every now and then, and everyone
fucking rad.
Wait, is that against like AI bots or against other players? AI bots,
it's just regular bots, and they'll drop like random cosmetic costume stuff that you can just put on people, and like after you play through that like 8 times, she's usually the eighth person you fight against, and she's freaking ridiculous. So you kind of have to cheap her out, which means you don't learn anything.
So you basically learn, but it's like you learn a bunch of tactics that work against her, but nobody else. It's sort of like the equivalent of teaching to the test, almost learning how to fight her.
Yeah, basically you learn
like a Mortal Kombat boss.
Yeah, it's
fucking,
basically
like jump kick Goro, because that's the only thing that works against him.
Yeah, it's exactly like anytime you play up against the computer, you learn bad tactics to beat just the computer, but it doesn't really teach you how to play the game, because the computer doesn't care how to play the game, because the computer's reading your inputs anyway. So all it's going to do is do whatever beats you either way. But yeah, she's a ridiculous boss. Luckily that fight I managed to pull off, and it was hard even for it being on medium mode, but it was pretty cool. And there's a whole lot of stuff in the cosmetics.
Devil Kazumi like unlockable to play as at all, or?
I haven't gone in there and tried to unlock her yet. I don't know if that's a thing.
She looks really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing, but I just saw her show up and I was like, wait a minute, why is she doing like I had played I think I played online against somebody that played Kazumi, and all of a sudden she's like 8 times more ridiculous, and on top of the fact that she actually has a Shoryuken,
So
and I don't. It's not like the Thunderwind God Fist that Heihachi and Kazuya do. It's a Shoryuken.
right. And so did you complete the story mode? Maybe she's in there.
I actually haven't played through the story mode.
Yeah.
I've done like a little bit of it, which basically you get to see how Heihachi is one of the worst dads ever.
Right.
But
He's constantly throwing his children into a volcano.
his
What an
children
asshole.
and grandchildren.
Strong.
Yeah. Come on, dude. Stop with the volcano shit. Jesus Christ.
You know
But,
a better way to raise your kids? I'd like to hear it.
What a volcano fetishist. I mean, I'm not the one to
I don't know
judge.
if you call that a fetish.
Yeah.
I don't know. He is getting something from that man.
But I've watched the story mode, and you don't even get the full story if you only play on medium. You actually have to play on the hardest mode because you have
Shit.
Heihachi. Oh no,
I
wait,
hate when
not
games do
Heihachi.
that, though.
Kazuya has to beat Akuma at the end, or has to fight Akuma at the end, and even then, it's still not sure what happens at the end of that fight.
Huh.
But
I love that they can just chuck Akuma in as a random guest character like fucking Soul Calibur or something, but he's like important to the plot.
yeah, like he's been hired as a hitman to take out the entire Mishima line.
And I love that that's like, so Street Fighter and Tekken just exist in the same universe now,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes?
Why not?
Yeah, why
Like,
not?
so-
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Devil Gene?
Just like Star Wars and Soul Calibur exist in the same universe also.
I'm sure they do. Or like everything in
And-
Disney now is in the same universe, right?
Yeah,
That's all
and
Kingdom Hearts,
on.
right? Yeah, so you've Ninjaneer and Science, you've both been playing fighting games. Ben, have you been playing a fighting game?
You know exactly what I've been playing, and it's motherfucking Knack.
Knack. Oh wow.
What?
Knack. That PS4
What
launch title
the
that everybody
fuck
forgot
did
about,
you just
except for
say?
Ben.
Untitled exclusive.
Yeah,
That is the one thing I did not expect anybody to say they were playing.
Ever in the history of the universe, I never expect anyone to play Knack until the fiery death of the planet Earth.
Yeah, I'd sooner expect somebody to say, yeah, I was playing that Shark Tale tie-in video game the other day. So
But anyway, I beat Knack last night. That fucking game is way better than I expected. B, fucking hard. Like, I started playing that game expecting kind of like a Skylanders, Mario 3D Land, that kind of fucking deal, like just fun time and everything. That game is closer to Dark Souls or like fucking. You know, have you guys heard of the genre massacre platformers?
Yeah.
Like Super Meat Boy. Yeah, that's fucking bordering on that shit. Like, I sat down and worked it out. You can take more hits from an average enemy in Dark Souls than you can in Knack.
that's pretty nuts. So it's kind of like Ori or in the Blind Forest, where the art style belies the difficulty of the game.
Yeah, like also people get. There is a cutscene where a dude gets roasted alive by lasers in that game.
Yeah.
People fucking die hard in that game.
That
I
is
thought
metal
this was
as
for
shit.
children.
Yeah. that's
How long did it take you to play through the game?
About probably about 7-8 hours or so.
Yeah, that's not so bad.
No, it's not a long game. It's like a platformer, but like it does something that's like really cool that I wasn't expecting. Where second thing really wasn't expecting is Knack's voice. He has like this really deep kind of baritone, big kind of sexy black dude voice.
Okay. Very sensual.
You fucking look at Knack and you don't expect that. But no, he does. Yeah, it has this thing where like every level, so you know how you see like the little cute Knack dude, right? So like every level is you start at him and you're like fighting like bugs and these little goblins and everything, and then as the level progresses you get more and more bits to you and you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it has this really cool thing where, like, so you'll start off fighting these, like, little goblin dudes who are just, like, a little bit bigger than the tiny knack. And then as you get bigger, they go from taking, like, 2 or 3 hits to kill to, like, 1 punch. And then there's, like, bigger yellow goblins. And then the same thing will happen. Those take a fair bit of hits, and then you get bigger ones and bigger ones. So, like, a level will start, and you're this tiny little dude fighting little bugs and, like, spiders and shit. And by the end of the game, you're throwing tanks at planes.
Okay.
That's actually pretty nuts. Wait, does his voice deepen as he grows? Or is he just like keep the same
doesn't
voice?
it?
Same voice as tiny little Knack. But the thing they do is they know that's really creepy, so he's almost completely non-verbal as little Knack. Like, I think as little Knack, he maybe says like 2 lines in the entire game, and then as he gets bigger, he talks more. But it gave me a very strong feeling of did anyone play Mutant Space Blob Attack?
I've never even heard of that game, but I have heard of Knack.
I think I've heard of it, but I never played it.
It was by the guys that did Guacamelee, the game they did before that. And it had the very same sense of, like, you start off as this tiny little thing and you're, like, super weak, but then as the game progresses you get really bigger and bigger and stronger, and just actually a really fun game. It also had a thing where, like, he would keep building himself out of different pieces. So, like, instead of having, like, the little stone bits, it would, like, build himself out of glass, and then you could, like, walk through, like, tripwire lasers, or he'd build himself out of ice, and then if you're in the sun, you'd have to move really quickly because the ice would melt, or he'd build himself out of wood, and he'd catch on fire, and, like, all that kind of shit. It actually was a really fun game, and I enjoyed it, and I'm really excited for Knack 2 now.
Well, that's weird. Hey, how many times have you died in, like, one challenge? Like, how many, how for how long was...
Knack?
Yeah, like one thing that you couldn't do and you kept dying and dying. How long do you think like you kept dying for? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. One thing they do, which I think they knew how fucking hard it was, is that when you die, restarting is instant. There is like no loading. There's nothing. It's just you fall apart, fade to black, and you're back at the checkpoint. It's really fast, which I fucking wish Dark Souls would do. But yeah, there were bits where I was dying like 20 times or so on like the same bit. One thing they also do though is you have these super moves where you like break yellow crystals and you build up a super bar and everything. Every time you die, you keep how much of your super bar is built up. So if you're dying and dying and dying on the same bit, you can keep building up your super bar and then just do your big super move and wipe out everything on the bit you're stuck on.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a nice way. But actually probably the hardest I did was the final boss, which is fucking hard, and yeah, I was probably doing him for about an hour or 2 last night, and it's a fight that my final fight on him lasted like 3 minutes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's really neat. So, Kappa, what have you been playing?
Probably the least accessible, hardest thing that I could possibly get into right now, which is the Korean MMO Black Desert Online.
Oh yeah.
Character creator.
Oh my god, the character
Just like
creator
Bart.
is amazing. I mean, it's everything you've heard of about that character creator plus more.
That character creator is a game unto itself,
It is.
from what I've heard.
I bought it it's on Steam for half off.
Because that's one thing that bugs me about Korean MMOs is everyone is the most beautiful, perfect person in the world.
Well, this one, I mean, you can do that, but so it's kind of interesting. Even the character creator has a lot of thought into it. You can tweak everything. I mean, down to like the individual parts of the jaw. I mean, ankle size. Anything you've ever wanted to adjust, you can. And so what the game does, it gives you kind of like a default look. That's like kind of like your typical pretty, anime stylish kind of woman or man. And then while you're creating, you can load these albums, and they filter the albums by different things like unique, beauty, celebrity, ugly. Like, so you can
Ugly is really one of them?
Yeah, it really is.
I will pick ugly,
Nice.
thank you.
Like, my friend who played it, he made a berserker class, and he basically made him look like Blanca. Like, dyed his skin like green and like had like crazy orange hair. The guy looked almost exactly like Blanca when he was all done. And I mean, I've seen like Geralt's running around. I've seen, a lot of people can really like get what they want out of that character creator. It kind of teeters towards pay to win, but not really. I mean, the more I play it, the more I realize it's not pay to win. But there's a lot of microtransactions that really make the game work. But I understand that because there's no monthly fee. It's not as grindy as most Korean MMOs. One of the things that it does to kind of help with that is your first month, it puts you on a server that gives you basically double experience. After your first month, you're kind of more or less kicked off that server. You can't log back into it. But if you ever hit 30 days of not logging in, you can go back to that server for another 30 days. So it kind of keeps you, it has good ways to keep you kind of balanced, even though it is a little more grindy as far as MMOs
What
go.
a bizarre thing. Couldn't they just like double your XP like per character basis?
Well, you can buy lots of little microtransaction items to double your XP or double what like your crafting XP or double your horse XP gain. I mean, they're more than willing to sell you
horse XP.
Yeah, so you can breed, train everything, horses. You can customize and buy armor for them. This game has everything you could ever want in MMO is in this game. I mean, housing,
like horse XP.
Yes, horse XP.
Yes. I just can't move on. Horse XP.
There's a mini game. Well, I'd say it's a mini game, but it's basically how you make passive income in the game, where it's more or less kind of like a settler style economy, where you have workers and you put them on tasks, like mining ore, and you have another worker taking the ore from one spot to another and smelting it and making ingots, and another guy turning the ingots into so like the more nodes you span out across, the more you can have this little passive economy to yourself, where you're the guy who's making nonstop whatever swords and then selling them in the marketplace. Marketplace is a little wonky. So here's what you do. You put something in there, or you want to buy something. First, you bid on the item. So let's say you want to buy a long sword, whatever. You bid on it. Then the system kind of goes through this magical thing where it decides who won the bid. If you win the bid, you can click a button and buy it. If nobody wins the bid, then somebody else can click on it and buy it. But the effect this has is that there's no gold sellers in the game, because no gold seller can sit there and always try to win that bid. And they also cap what items can sell for in the marketplace. Each item has its own little high and low. So you can try to sell it for high. It'll sit in there a little bit longer. It might not sell as fast. Or you can try to sell it for the low point, and it'll go right away. There's a lot of thought.
They're just like straight up capping inflation.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's little artificial balances on top of all that too, where I mean, like you can pre-order inside the game, so you can say the next time this item shows up in the auction house, I want to buy it, but I can't. When you pre-order, you can pay more than the cap, if that makes sense. So like, even though the cap's normally 8 mil, you can pre-order for 9 mil, and then the first time it shows up, yes, you'll pay $1 million more, but you're guaranteed to get the item. But you can only have one. Yeah, you can only have one pre-order in at a time. So the systems are designed to defeat gold sellers, and this is the first MMO I've never seen a gold spammer in, and I mean that means a lot to me, because I've played a lot of MMOs. The game is really well thought out. The combat is world class. I'm playing a Dark Knight, which name is kind of corny, but it plays kind of like a Bayonetta type game. Like I have combos that go into different combos, then I can change up my combos. So if I'm fighting one boss that has a ton of hit points, I've got kind of one set of combos, versus if I'm fighting a ton of a giant spawn of 50 guys where I just want to AoE everything. So you can flip on the fly, and it's not like you're locked into one type of class either. At level 56, you get basically a subclass that unlocks an awakening class, and everything I can say about the game is good. The problem is, as much as I played it, I don't know if I'm going to stick with it. I get this feeling with MMOs a lot, like I kind of figure it all out. I enjoy it, but a lot of times I just don't stick with it. But I'm still enjoying the time I have with it. Kind of fell into a casual guild, and just kind of working with them. One big negative I will say: the chat in this game is the worst chat I've ever seen in my life.
Is that like on the game or on the players?
No, yeah, the players. There's no. It's easy to block people. Don't get me wrong. It's easy to block people, but the channels are just so. I don't know if this is what MMOs are now, but like, you guys, if you've ever played like World of Warcraft, you remember like Baron's chat, right? Which was kind of trolly. Kind of trolly but funny, right? It's not like this game is not like that. There's no mods, there's no GMs. They just kind of rely on you blocking people who are annoying. My block list in this game is already about 200 people long, and I've basically got to the point now where I just only talk to my guild, and only dip into like the server or world channel if I need to find a group every now and then. Which is, an MMO, you don't want to have a situation where you block out all the chat in a game. but it's just so horrible.
An MMO, really?
Yeah. I mean, it's so. I mean, I play with my guild. I play with other people, and they do a lot of local chats. Like you can go into like the XP areas and try to find a group that way. I'm really enjoying it. There's a nice mix of new mechanics, new stuff I've never really seen before. It all kind of comes together in a really smart way. But there's a lot of feeling of like the old MMO lifestyle of discovering things and exploring and having a little group to yourself in like a corner of a dungeon where it's you guys pulling things to you and or you moving kind of in like a little line back and forth between spawns. It kind of made me a little nostalgic at that time, but I like it a lot. I'm gonna at least stick with it until I've got this item called a value pack that's basically like double XP for everything, unlimited character creator access, stuff like that for 30 days. So I'm at least gonna stick with it through that. See kind of where I end up with it. Cool.
But let's get serious. How much horse XP do you have?
My horse is level 16. He's a good horse. I don't know. He's like a black Palomino, I think. But like you can. So here, horses are its own economy. You can like trade horses with people and breed them, and then like you can sell the offspring.
Like chocobos.
Yeah. So like there's different tiers.
Oh fuck! Are you gonna try and get your golden horse?
Wait, you can make chocobos in the Final Fantasy MMOs?
Yeah, that's how you make the purple and the black and the reds to get the ultimate weapons.
Yep. Fantastic. Do horses have colors, and then you have to make a gold horse?
Yeah, and so like, because people chase in this game it's tiers. So like there's like a tier 8 horse is the highest tier, and you can win races.
Jesus, I was joking. This is insane. It's fucking insane, man.
They've thought of everything.
This is like some 3DS horse breeding game.
Never underestimate Korean MMO when it comes to craziness.
Rule 34 of MMOs. If you can think of it, it exists.
It's probably
Turned into Ubisoft's horses with a Z for the 3DS.
Horses.
No,
I'm level 1 horse. I don't have a horse.
Okay, that sounds a little too much like horror for my comfort.
Well, that's not my fault.
That was the fault of the marketing department.
Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't think it through. It's all on Ubisoft.
Level 1 horse, level 1 horse. Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever floats your boat.
You gotta breed
go
your
down
horse.
that road.
Make sure you breed your horse.
Exactly. You have. Okay, let's not go into that territory. Hey,
let's cut this. Let's just cut this off the pass. Yeah, so that sounds like it's a little bit of a different approach to MMOs than I've usually heard of. Usually you hear of MMOs being like, I don't know, super repetitive, and this seems like it's at least trying to keep things fresh with things like horse breeding.
Yeah, and they also announced it it'll be coming out for Xbox. They announced that at E3.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to get to shortly.
Really talk about E3. Maybe like do a podcast on it or something.
I don't know.
See, I was trying to give him the segue, and then you guys jumped all over. I was trying to give it to him, and then.
Well, before we segue into that, just to very briefly talk about what I've been playing. I've been playing Persona 5, which is not an MMO or a fighting game. Shocking, I know.
It's both.
It's kind of like Knack.
Yeah, well, it is a little bit like Knack in that
it's actually a copy of Knack. They exactly copied every part.
Yeah, it's exactly like Knack. I mean, they're both PS4 games, and all PS4
The main
games
protagonist has a very sensual, deep voice.
The protagonist sounds like Xander Mobus.
When Persona 5
Xander Mobus
Arena comes out, it'll definitely be both.
Yeah. So, Persona 5, it's a good game. I don't know if it's a great game, but it's definitely a good game.
Recommendations from Merve there.
I've actually heard this from a lot of Persona fans. I mean, there's kind of like in the Persona community, from what I've seen, there's kind of a disappointment with this one.
Oh, fuck them. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Science has actually finished it. I'm 80 hours in and nowhere near done. Like, I think I just finished the 5th dungeon, and I think there's 7 or 8 dungeons, which tells you how long this game is.
Very long.
Yeah, it's pretty damn long. It's interesting in that it feels a lot of ways like a much better looking Persona 4. It has the same basic plot structure, same basic gameplay structure, with a few twists added. So that's for good and for bad, in that they've kept pretty much everything you liked about Persona 4, and they've added some new good stuff, but they've also kept everything that was bad about Persona 4. So things like there's certain stats where you can't see how much you've leveled them up, so you have no idea how much progress you've made in leveling them up until you reach the next level. It has the same problem where there's too much downtime between dungeons, so you're encouraged to basically do the dungeons all in one go, so you have as much time as possible outside of dungeons to do all the activities. So like it's not paced really well. So it has a lot of the same problems as Persona 4, but overall, like, what it does really well in terms of, like, it looks really slick. The dungeon design is, like, incredible compared to especially compared to Persona 4, which had all these randomly generated dungeons.
Those dungeons were garbage in Persona 4.
Bad.
God. And these are so good.
Yeah, these are like they're all hand designed.
Yeah.
So they have, like, neat little puzzles, some of them. Occasionally some puzzles that don't make any sense. There's like there's one puzzle that I'm not going to spoil in the 5th dungeon, or I should say a set of puzzles that really doesn't. I didn't understand what I was doing, but I still managed to solve it. So I don't really know what was going on there. But yeah, they've made the dungeons like actual experiences as opposed to just running through randomly generated corridors.
Yeah. And they remind you how bad the dungeons were in Persona 4 by adding mementos to the game. Like, oh, you also have this randomly generated stuff that's just kind of bogus.
Yeah, the worst part of those dungeons is you can't use stealth elements in them. That's one thing they've added, is dungeons now have stealth elements where you can hide behind cover to ambush enemies, which gives you an advantage when you sneak up on them in battle. It's a lot harder to do in the Mementos dungeon because you can attack enemies from behind and get this advantage. There's no way you can use cover at all because they're driving around in a giant cat bus in a seeming nod to My Neighbor Totoro, but black and white as opposed to brown and fluffy.
Orange. It was orange, my friend.
It was orange. I can't remember the exact color of May the cat bus.
Heathen!
Yeah, I'm a bad Ghibli nerd, whatever you want to call it.
Either way.
Yeah, so overall, I think it's like the way I describe it is it feels like a really excellent game from 5 years ago.
All right, Merv, but that's all well and good and all, but let's talk about that UI design.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh god, I'm of two minds about this because it looks really slick. But there are some places where it's actually kind of confusing to navigate, where it's not clear
but
whether
it looks really good.
It looks amazing, but there are times when it's just like, when you press the you'll press the up arrow on your D-pad and it'll move to the rightmost option because it's something that's like up and to the right, things like that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's not clear exactly what pressing what button on the D-pad will take you to what option. Like say for example when you're in the Velvet Room, it's a little annoying.
that's kind of junky.
So I think they've gone a little bit too far in the sort of in the balance between finding a really easy to use UI and a really nice looking UI. I think they've gotten a little bit too far in the latter direction, unfortunately.
Right.
It looks really slick.
It looks so good that I can't agree with you, but I also kind of agree with you. But I really am glad that they did that.
Look, as someone whose Persona experience stops at Persona 1.
Oh wow!
I will, all the way back there. I will say that so far as what I've seen of this game, because I haven't bought it yet, is just seeing that UI and the music choice for it.
Oh, the music is so good in this game.
It's already in my. I'll wait until that price goes down a little bit and pick it up.
Yeah, I think it's worth playing.
I'm gonna say I'm with Ninja. I don't even really like Persona. I thought Persona 3 sucked.
Oh yeah, I hated Persona 3.
I kind of fucking tapped out there, but that UI design, man, it's really tempting.
Like I will say, based on the complaints that I've heard you make about Persona 3, I think Persona 5 addresses most of them. Right. Like you can actually command your party members now, so they don't do stupid shit.
Issue with not wanting to get Persona 5 that's like a fucking 100-hour game, and I don't think I can handle that.
Yeah, it's a little bit too long.
That's the problem with liking JRPGs is if 2 or 3 good JRPGs come out in a year, that's all you're playing.
Yeah, you're
not playing anything else. You don't have any time.
Like, yeah, I just beat Tales of Berseria, and that was like a 40-hour game, and by the end of that game, I really enjoyed it, but like fucking just finish.
Yeah,
Tales of Zestiria took me 65 hours.
Long.
I still haven't finished up Final Fantasy 15 yet. I'm still at like about the end.
Yeah, I ain't playing that.
And that game's like
to finish that game before I play it because they keep fucking adding stuff.
Right.
Merv, that game was half finished when it was released.
Merv, I have a slight little question for you.
Sure.
So, which Persona game did you like most?
I've only played 4 and 5.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't finished 5 yet, but I think I prefer 4 because I think 4 has a much, much better story.
I disagree a little bit. I think that some things in Persona 4 story are a bit of a slog, but I understand. It has definitely a little bit more of an interesting main cast, like interesting main characters, a little bit more.
Yeah, what I will say about Persona 4 is that its story like permeates the game a lot more than Persona 5's. I mean, that I don't even know if that's exactly what I'd say, because the whole idea of the Phantom Thieves is like you're reminded of it every day in Persona 5, whereas you could go a few days in Persona 4 without being reminded of the investigation. But the Phantom Thieves, like what they actually do and whom they target, that's a very small portion of what you do in Persona 5. Whereas in Persona 4, pretty much any time the investigation team gets brought up, it's in relation to the murder and kidnapping investigations. So it feels like it's a bigger part of the game in Persona 4, despite the fact that the Phantom Thieves basically permeate everything in Persona 5. Yeah. So I will, again, it's really hard for me to judge because I haven't finished Persona 5 and I might come around on it. But it's been like,
you're 80 hours in. I think you know.
If you'd asked me at the start of the year, do you think Persona 5 will be the game of the year? I'd have said absolutely. And now I've played like at least 2 games that are this year that are like 2 of my favorite games of all time. And Persona 5 isn't one of them. So it's weird to think this might be a game where Persona 5, like a Persona game, doesn't make my top 10 of the year. I'm just thinking right now, looking ahead to what's coming the rest of the year. And that's really scary to me because I'm actually really liking this game. Speaking of things that we really, really like a lot.
Oh, no.
We have a special treat for our listeners today. We're actually going to bring back our most popular segment, Project Sonic Watch 2017.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is a really great segment.
All my fan fiction is coming through.
I am, like, no joke, so excited for this fucking game.
So this is a segment that Banner Thief originally brought to the podcast, and I wanted to bring it back because we have to talk about the upcoming Sonic Forces game. So the trailer's out. They announced, I think shortly before E3 or at E3, that you can put your Sonic OCs in your game now. That's the thing you can do.
I have binders full. They're very sticky though.
Is it bad that I'm more excited about Sonic Mania than this?
Not at all. Not at all. That means
come on.
Does that make me rational? Does that make me a rational human being that I want Sonic Mania more than I want Sonic Forces?
I mean, maybe it means you really like Pixelar. I don't know. But
as far
as you're a person,
as far as I'm concerned, Sonic peaked at Sonic 3 and Knuckles. That's that's as far as I go.
Not with my canon. I created my own canon with my own character, and he's way better than Sonic and cooler and more edgier. And he's so cool. Finally, I get to put him in a game.
There you go.
They will be signing contracts with me when they see my character.
All right. Are you going to use that grappling hook?
I will use all kinds of toys on my Sonic character.
I am hoping like hell that you can get the fucking Shadow the Hedgehog assault rifles as your item in this fucking game.
I just want a Sonic that vapes and it has a fidget spinner.
I just want to create a big vape that just runs around and
I'm sure Shadow vapes.
I am waiting. I am waiting for somebody to actually create every single one of these Sat AM characters and put them in the game.
I just want to create a female Big the Cat and run.
Have you guys played the Hedgehog game where you just put in your name plus the Hedgehog into Google image search to find your own custom Sonic OC?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I have a very rare Indian name, so I can't do that.
I have a Polish name, dude. Nothing will come up.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen if I do that.
I have a name that most people over the age of 50 don't have.
There you go.
Which means they're like five hedgehogs with your name, I'm sure. Eustace the Hedgehog. I'm sure it exists.
Sonic Forces Game of the Year.
Okay, sure.
But only with my character. If you download my character.
Dude from Work's name and the Hedgehog into Google, and I found Imran the Hedgehog.
Sure.
So,
I just found Mabel the Hedgehog. So old names do have. Mabel the Hedgehog is dressed in a very skimpy outfit.
I will create Gears of War characters, put them in the Sonic Forces game, and remake Gears of War.
Esther the Hedgehog also exists.
General Ram the Hedgehog.
Exactly. Dom, you gotta speed up. Dom, gotta go fast.
So
Anya, don't do it. Fast.
So, to be semi-serious for a moment,
Phoenix the Hedgehog.
Sonic Forces doesn't look awful. I mean, It doesn't look amazing or anything. I'm probably not going to get it, but it doesn't look like a disaster in the making like Sonic Boom. I can see this being a decently reviewed game.
This character has glasses on him.
Sonic Generations again. That's all it is.
Yeah, which you know what? That was a well-reviewed game. They're doing it again.
I'm watching the trailer right now, and I'm just like so pumped up for it. Like very.
Did you guys see the fucking new pre-rendered trailer with the new fucking edgelord villain with like the mask and the one black eye and like all floating? Oh my god, it looks amazing.
I didn't see any details on that dude, but I was like, okay, so we're using literally everything that has ever existed. Like they had Eggman. They had Shadow.
Sure,
and then they had one of the villains from what is it, Sonic Lost World?
Yeah, man.
Just sitting there.
Yeah.
That fucking game name, I remember it. When I saw that dude, I'm like, hey, it's that dude from that thing.
Yeah. It was like, we're going to just they were like, it's a melting pot, so we're going to throw everything in it, and then you can throw whatever character you want in it.
Honestly, though, guys, this looks like garbage. I'm watching the trailer, and this looks like fucking hot garbage.
It's terrible. I think we spent
completely terrible.
more
I
time
fucking hate
talking
Sonic.
about this game than it deserves.
I hate Sonic. Sonic is the worst. He always has been the worst. People think that Sonic 1, 2, and 3 were good games. I say they were worse than Mario.
Yeah, well, the kids.
Everybody agrees on that.
Kids
I know,
Super
I
Nintendo
that.
had to convince themselves that Sonic was just as good because Daddy bought me a Sega, so Sonic's just as good as Mario.
Okay, we are going to get
we're gonna move on.
Fucking emails.
Just before we move on to E3,
people are going to destroy us.
Yeah, just before we move on to E3, I looked it up. Esther and Mabel the Hedgehog do exist. Enid the Hedgehog does not.
Enid the Hedgehog.
Apparently, not all old women names are covered under the Hedgehog.
I'm sorry to start there before we go. More excited for Sonic Forces than I am for Mario Odyssey.
That is a hot take if there ever were one.
Update. I used my Polish name and the Hedgehog, and it did came up.
Okay.
It looks very weird.
All right, guys, let's talk about E3.
I am afraid.
Let's talk about E3 so we can get in some more hot takes.
Let's do that.
So E3 just happened. When we're recording it, E3 happened like earlier this week. And before that, there were all the press conferences, which is what we're mainly going to be talking about to begin with. And then we're going to move on to stuff like streams and trailers that have come out since the press conferences. There were quite a few press conferences this year. Let me count up. There's EA, Microsoft, Bethesda, Devolver sort of press conference, the PC Gaming Show, which is technically not affiliated with E3, but let's just say it is. Then Ubisoft, Sony, and Nintendo. So there are a lot of press events this year. And we'll just go one by one chronologically and start with EA. So EA put out, I would say, if I can editorialize for a second, a kind of like boring press conference and kind of underwhelming, as they always do. Very sports heavy and very bro heavy.
Well, as the sports person who does enjoy the sports games, I did like a lot of the stuff they announced in the games, but the stuff they announced, I think, was, well, the way they announced it, I think, was really kind of weird, like the band and all that stuff. I don't know. It does lean bro heavy, and you got to remember that EA spends a lot of money to make these games, the sports games, particularly the licenses and stuff, and they also make a ton of money off them. So the sports games are always going to be at E3. I know people are like, oh my God, here we go again, sports ball, but they're always going to be there at E3's presentation.
I have no problem with them being there. And now they're trying to sell the story modes, which are basically like RPGs now.
That's what I'm really excited about with Madden. I think there's a potential there to be a kind of a cool RPG where instead of getting stats for dexterity, you get stats for throw accuracy on the guy that you're building to be an NFL quarterback or whatever. I think that's kind of cool.
Did they recruit
Spike Lee writing it this time?
Yeah, that's the thing that has me very wary about a story mode in a sports game was living the dream.
Yeah.
Are you telling me frequency vibration is not a character that you love?
It is not, sir.
But they did bring back last
Hunter.
year's greatest E3 meme, Alex Hunter.
Yeah.
He's back in FIFA, which makes me really happy for some reason.
And whatever. What I liked from the conference? Janina something.
Janina Gavankar?
Yeah, Gavankar. Yeah, the lady that the woman that plays. She was very intense, and like I felt like it seemed like she was very excited to be on the stage. It felt cool. Like it was cool. I like that part. The whole conference was kind of boring, but that part was interesting at the very least. So, and I guess A Way Out also was interesting. So
A Way Out
looks amazing. I cannot wait for that game.
Yeah, I feel I'm kind of like the most. I feel like I'm usually the guy from that's positive about all the E3 stuff. Like I get hyped, I get excited for stuff. And A Way Out, I didn't connect with it during the conference, but I watched some dev footage later on with the guy. I think they made Brothers, right?
Yeah. Same guy who was lead on Brothers.
Yeah, so he talked about some stuff later, and it looked a lot better than what they actually showed. And there's a lot more to the game than I thought. It was just a co-op kind of like a Telltale co-op game, if that makes sense. But there's actually a lot more to that game than what they.
I have to say that whole idea of wasn't that good on the show floor, but then you see stuff after it. That was a running theme this year.
It really was.
Yeah.
I mean,
for everybody.
Yeah.
For everybody. There was so many. I think everyone has always said, I wish they would just do games, not talk about it and everything. And they did it this year, and it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
There were, a lot of, there's just no context to any of the shit that you got to see. And you had to wait until, streams afterwards or fucking interviews or there was,
See, I think...
Later, but,
when we get to Nintendo later, that's going to be a big theme.
Yeah, I think the games thing, just show me trailers, works if it's a sequel. But if you're showing me a new IP, and I don't have any familiarity in this world or whatever, I got no idea what A Way Out's about. You know what I mean? Until and then later.
One thing I want to say about A Way Out, just based on because it's made by the guys that made Brothers, based on Brothers. I think this game will have some cool shenanigans in it. There's going to be some very cool mechanics that are going to be really moving. I think, especially with an actual co-op partner, it's going to get cool.
I'm not the only one who felt kind of like Telltale, right? Maybe it was the animations or
No, I never felt like that. I felt like it was kind of a very light action game. That's what I felt.
Yeah, I felt. I got more of a. Did anyone ever play Kane and Lynch?
Yes.
I've got a vibe of that, but actually not fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Those games are awful.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely got more of the, not really, I wouldn't say telltale vibe, because I didn't think there'd be any quote-unquote moral choices in the game, but I did get the sense that it was extremely narrative heavy, and most of the actions would be contextual, rather than any sort of action, like consistent action mechanics across different scenes. But it seems like it's got like a mix of contextual actions and like actual mechanics.
Yeah.
Now, see, I'll be...
Go ahead, Ninjaneer.
I will actually be kind of honest here. EA is pretty much on my list of embargo game developers or whatever. So usually I don't pay attention to anything EA puts out, but I found out that the guys that made Brothers are working on it. I didn't get a chance to watch the Way Out video yet, but I'll check that out.
Like they actually had a lot of indie stuff. EA did this year, a fair amount, right?
Yeah, EA have their new. It's like an indie development program where they basically provide a lot of funding, but all profits go to the developer. They don't actually take a profit share from it. So even if you don't want to support EA, if you buy this game, you're basically just supporting this weird indie developer. Yeah,
and I think they said they'll host it on Origin and they'll give you tech support, which is big. I mean, because Steam takes a big cut of indie games. So that's kind of big news, I thought.
And you know what's interesting? A Way Out doesn't even remotely look like an indie game. Like the graphics look very good.
Yeah,
it looks like what you call like a AA title. Yeah, and we could use a lot more of those in the industry, I think.
Well, that's what Brothers look like too.
Yeah,
like when that came out, it was like, you guys did this on a low budget. How the hell?
Yeah, it was on the higher end of indie, but it's still look indie, and this looks like
this is a step up. Yeah. So I don't know whether this falls under EA or not, but I do want to talk two of the AAA ones, which was Anthem. I think maybe we can wait till Microsoft to talk about that.
At the end of EA,
that's where all the information was.
Yeah.
What I reckon about Anthem is I reckon they shouldn't have shown it, because I think the excitement you would have got from seeing that at the Microsoft show without knowing what it was would have been way better than seeing a tiny little bit and being like, oh, that's cool, I want to see more. And they're like, no, you'll see it tomorrow. And then you watch the Microsoft show and you're like, oh, and this is that Anthem game.
Yeah, but they showed so little of it, yet I didn't care.
Anthem looks, I mean, based on the two parts of it, Anthem looks amazing. I mean, I think it's a Destiny killer.
Yeah, it looks like a better Destiny game.
But, as soon as I heard Drew Karpathian is on it. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is what happened to Mass Effect Andromeda. They were like, okay, A-Team. Here's what you're doing. You know what I mean? I liked Andromeda more than most people, but you can tell that where their focus has been 100% on that Anthem game. It looks good. The voice acting is good. The story looks good. The facial animations are top notch. I mean, everything about that game looked good. I mean, I think there's space for what are they calling them, looter shooters or whatever, to have a really, really good story on top of all of it. And if it turns out that they do that, because Destiny, I mean, I love it. I play a lot of it, but they're making a lot of questionable decisions for Destiny too. I don't know how much you guys are following it, but
this looks like another DLC pack from everything.
There's a lot of questionable stuff going on there. So I think there's space for Anthem to slide right in there and take that crown.
Let's remember what killed Destiny. It was the repetition. So we'll see how diverse Anthem is. Before.
Well, a lot of people bailed on Destiny because of the lack of story too, though. So I mean, there's.
I mean, the story was fucking garbage. I played through the story and I was like, okay, there's this gate. Peter Dinklage is talking to my ear. Yeah. Okay. What the fuck? It's the end of the game?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what the fuck happened. And they were like, of course
you need to get on the website and read up the lore booklet thing.
Man. That angered me so much that I have to go to some kind of a crappy website and look some cards and read stuff to figure out what the fuck Peter Dinklage is trying to tell me.
If you have to go outside of your game to understand your game, you fucked up your game.
Think about all the stuff in Destiny. I don't know how much you guys played it. Think about all the stuff you have to go outside of the game to do. Not just lore. Matchmaking is outside of the game, right? I mean, if you want to run with a group and you don't have your friends, you got to go find a group outside of the game. There's a lot of that stuff, and it doesn't look like they're fixing too much of it. I mean, they're fixing some of it with that guided game stuff, but there's a lot about Destiny. I think that there's room for improvement, and I think that if anybody can figure it out, it's BioWare. So
you know the worst thing about Destiny, people that told me that the game begins with the raids.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was like, what? That's 40
That's
hours
the thing that turns me off these games is I want to play around these worlds. I want like a nice sci-fi shooter, but I'm a misanthrope. I want to play alone, you know?
Yeah.
That's part of it. But why didn't they make a raid 20 hours in at the very least? That would be interesting.
Yeah, like if you play WoW, you're not raiding, in the first whatever, but you're doing dungeons and instances and things like that. Strikes in Destiny are nothing like raids. Strikes are like, like you fight through waves of stuff, but it's nothing like a raid. Raids are challenging. I mean, there's jump puzzles, there's different mechanics to it that don't exist anywhere else. So yeah, it's hard to ask people who've never experienced this stuff before, hey, go in there and figure this out on your first time with a group of other people who've never figured it out. So because of that, they took out matchmaking. So that's why you've got to go find a group outside, and people ask for the most ridiculous things. So, they're asking you basically, hey, if you want to join this raid, you had to have completed this raid already. But do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, to get this job, you need to have 5 years of experience, but,
Yeah, and also, like, you have to play through 40 hours of boring garbage to get to the good stuff. So it's like, go work as I don't know.
As a garbage man?
Yeah, I don't want to. No, I don't want to.
Back end the good stuff for sure.
Hey, garbage man, I appreciate what you do to the community, to everyone. Thank you for your.
We appreciate the garbage people.
Yes, we appreciate garbage men. Thank you.
Garbage men are a very, very important service.
Yes, thank you, garbage man. Okay.
So to bring it back to Anthem, like my concern is that like BioWare's strength is in making these dense single player RPGs with rich stories. I'm hoping that they can bring that experience even if they add these cooperative elements. I'm still hoping they're not going to lose what their strengths are.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this game is playing to their strengths. So I'm skeptical. I'll wait to see what more they churn out, like more gameplay footage, maybe actually some story content, and then I'll see. Maybe it might be for me. Maybe it won't be.
I think that's a good point, because the one time I was really concerned about Anthem was when they actually showed the combat. The shooting in that game looked rough. It looked Mass Effect 2 style. I think it was in the Microsoft one, but they like show them, basically like doing like a mortar strike on a bunch of enemies, and the shooting's that third person with that reticle that kind of expands as you shoot. That feels very antiquated to me. And I don't think they showed first person shooting, if I'm not wrong. So
they didn't.
Yeah, but it's very early on, so
yeah.
They could definitely change it. It seems like a mechanical change they can make down the line. So we've talked about Anthem a bunch, which was shown off at the Microsoft conference. Shall we move on to talk about...
Before we move on?
I actually want to say something, too.
Go ahead.
Speed turning into the fucking Fast and the Furious game looks awesome, and I wanted to get that.
Yeah, Payback looked good. So did Battlefront 2, if we're sticking with
wasn't Carbon basically a Fast and Furious game?
Yeah,
I
haven't ever played a Need for Speed game before, but...
Did they have Vin Diesel?
I actually own Carbon, weirdly enough.
Yeah, I could have swore they had a Need for Speed game that was Fast and Furious.
They did.
There was Wheelman, which had Vin Diesel in it.
That was completely different.
Need for Speed Underground had like the underground racing world and everything. I mean, Need for Speed has done every type of racing game you can do, but Payback looked good, man. It looked really fun. Which I know Forza is there for the realism.
The Burnout crashes.
Yeah. Well, hey, Burnout's not going to mind anymore. So.
Yeah,
that's true. It's sad, but it's true.
Wait, did they close down Criterion? I keep
No. They're still operational. Last I've heard about what they're doing, like, remember a couple of E3s ago they presented like a rough sketch of a game, like, oh, we're doing some kind of a racing game, and here's like a bunch of still shots of like concept art and shit, and then nothing. So I don't know what's happening.
So Criterion's still drawing concept art.
Yeah.
So Ninja, you had something you want to say about
EA? Yeah, just to bring it back for like a hot second back to Anthem. All I want to say is this will be a placeholder until Borderlands 3 gets here.
You got a boycott on EA. I've got one on Gearbox. Man, how many times can Gearbox burn us?
I mean, Randy Pitchford is he's not well liked on this podcast.
Friend of the show, Randy Pitchford.
Oh yeah,
friend of the show, Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, I understand everybody's distaste for Randy Pitchford and his pitchmanship, but as far as I'm concerned, Borderlands has worked most of the time.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair assessment.
I'm all over Borderlands 3 when that comes out.
Yeah.
Me and my wife played through 1, 2, and I think we're like halfway through the pre-sequel.
Yeah.
And
the only one that didn't hit for me was the pre-sequel. But everything else worked.
Seriously bored with 2. I played a lot of 1 and was like super ready for them to shake things up with 2, and then it was just more of the same, and I was very disappointed. And it kind of looked the same, and everything was the same.
See, I like the fact that they polished what they did in 1.
Yeah, I guess a little bit, but it definitely felt that. But I played so much of 1 that I was already kind of tired of that game.
And 2 had an actual storyline, unlike 1.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that's true. That was better than.
I think the first one didn't have a story until you got DLC.
But one thing I say, kind of the humor in 2 was kind of like annoying me. The humor in 1 was like, okay, that's kind of funny, but
Tina was like, put the game on mute just to get through her stuff.
Yeah, there was some
parts
of it.
Yeah, so actually, before we move on, what was with that whole trying to turn Battlefront 2 into an esport before it's even out?
I don't know. I don't care. I will never play that game multiplayer. But if they have a single player that looks anywhere as good as that was shown, I don't even like Star Wars. You know how much I want to play though as Darth Vader? Like actually play. There's potential there.
Let me just say this. I don't care about influencers. I don't give a shit about announcers. I don't care about reaction shots. That whole fucking part of these conferences can just disappear.
That part of the conference was my pee break.
Look, Science, it's going to get much worse.
No!
Because we have a spot coming up that is going to be terrible, and I think it was in the Bethesda conference.
Yeah.
So we'll wait till we get to that.
It's literally my worst of E3s as content creators or whatever you want to call them. That's my worst.
No, it's not that. It's not that. There's an even worse part.
So
I prefer the freaking Ubisoft Mr. Caffeine thing.
Yeah.
See, here's my problem with this. Why? I don't mind. You want to turn this into a sports show or whatever, fine. But don't make it go on for 25 friggin' minutes.
Yeah.
That was 5 minutes of real content tops that you needed to show us.
Yeah.
You don't need to make this 25-minute demo of a whole multiplayer match. I don't need to see the whole thing. I'll get the idea.
Bad. They were so bad. It was like, when you watch somebody, you're like, hey, you should probably reload now. They're running around one bullet, running towards a gunfight. You're like, you idiot. And I mean, I've only played a little Battlefront multiplayer, but they were just making so many big mistakes. And it was like, I get, they haven't had a ton of experience, but then why show us that? Just show us a bunch of devs playing each other. I don't need to know.
They want it to be real, man.
Okay.
I don't care that YouTubers are playing it. Just show me the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, show me the single player campaign.
Oh yeah,
that would be
cool.
cool.
I'm kind of let down. You didn't get to see any of that.
Yeah, that was weird, right? But because they showed so much of the.
Yeah, they bring out the star of the single player campaign to promote it, and then show us multiplayer.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's a logic in that.
So
because they know where their bread is buttered.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
so.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on to Microsoft.
So moving on to Microsoft.
Okay, let me burn this down real quick. So, sorry to cut you off, but I have to say something at the very beginning because Microsoft has done the absolute worst thing that I cannot stand at all, ever in these conferences. And that is the fact that they use the word exclusive 9,000 times and don't understand what it means.
Yeah.
Hot takes from Ninjaneer.
Yeah, that was confusing.
Yeah, because one of the biggest things I took away from Microsoft, I actually wrote this, it's crazy how much Play Anywhere or PC compatible stuff there is.
Yeah.
I mean, they've given up on having console exclusives because you know what? A Windows PC is a Microsoft console if you think about it. So as
they
a
get their
person
money
with
anyway. What the fuck do they get?
as a guy with a Intel 7700 and a 1080 Ti, I can't be more happy right now with Microsoft's conference because man, everything they share that look cool, I'm like, cool. I'm going to run this and it's going to look twice as good on my computer.
Yep.
I mean, I mean, everything they showed was PC compatible. I think. I mean, I didn't expect Crackdown 3 or Sea of Thieves or a lot of those other games. I was like, okay, well, it makes sense, but nope, all those are coming to PC. So I'm good with it, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
it makes me happy. It means I don't have to buy an Xbox.
First party game they're releasing after fucking Recore is going to be Play Anywhere.
Yeah. Microsoft, what's weird about Microsoft is their conference, even though it was a hardware year, right? I mean, it was, everything in there was like weirdly consumer friendly. I think it's like Sony and Microsoft switch places at some point, right? Like Microsoft is doing all this crossplay stuff. They're giving all this free backwards compatibility stuff. I mean, like it's weird to me that like that's Microsoft now is like, okay, we're not doing, and even the exclusives they have, they're not doing like exclusive characters, exclusive this, exclusive that. They're like, no, we're just the marketing partner for Assassin's Creed Origins. So when you see Assassin's Creed Origin, it's going to be on an Xbox. Or what was the other one? Anthem, right? I mean, they're not saying like there's exclusive this, exclusive guns, like Sony's doing with Destiny and stuff.
They're just using the word exclusive.
Yeah, using it completely
exclusive.
And it was exclusive for literally everything that they announced.
Yeah, and I think that Microsoft is 2 years away. So I think next E3 for Microsoft, you're going to see a ton of first-party actual exclusives for Xbox and PC, right?
And personally, I don't think that's going to exist because as far as I'm concerned, this is Microsoft's last hurrah on the console game.
No,
I think what they're going to do is just marketplace it and make like an Xbox marketplace for Windows 10, and that'll be where they sell games.
I mean, they already like did that with a bunch of games,
then
right?
why would they invest so much of their conference in showing off the Xbox One X?
Yeah,
which is a bad name, but
here's the thing.
Probably good console.
That's for this generation, but my question is, what is that? Who is that for? Because that's not
people
who
don't already own an Xbox but want a high-end machine.
Yeah, I think there's a spot for the Xbox One X. I do. It's a dumb name, first of all, but
for me, for my understanding of it is, if you already have, it's going to be like a fraction of a percent of people that are going to buy that.
It depends.
If you have an Xbox, for the majority of the people aren't going to buy another Xbox. That's going to be for people that are, I need to collect just about every Xbox that exists because I'm an Xbox fan, possibly, or somebody that's like, I need to upgrade. I have to upgrade. Those type of people.
Yeah,
that's going to be a small segment of people, but I think the greatest segment is going to be
4K TV adopters.
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
That's still a small segment.
I'm guessing it's mostly people who are like, but I don't have a console from this generation yet. This is the most powerful one out there. I'm gonna grab it.
Can't you just buy like a
the way I see the Xbox One X,
that's the other thing.
You could
there are people like me. I hate playing on a PC. That's just me. That's a bigger market than you'd think. But here's what I think with the Xbox One X. I don't think it's meant for like this year and this time. No. I think it's basically a future-proofed console.
Yeah, totally.
So like Sony will release like maybe the PS4 Pro 2 or the PS5 or whatever, and that will be starting to catch up to where the Xbox One X is at the moment.
Okay.
And so they have this console that's already out there that is already like basically a next generation console already, which they can just keep releasing, and then I reckon they'll slow down production of Xbox One games, and you'll start seeing Xbox One X exclusives and that kind of thing, and it will just slowly transition over to this is their new console.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what they want to do. They want to iterate on their hardware.
I don't know if you saw the how the box looks. It looks slick though, and it's smaller than any other Xbox out there. So
smaller than the S, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
smaller than the S, which is the dumbest thing possible because the whole purpose of the S was that was supposed to be the small one.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but also like it costs the cost is high because they have to,
it is.
Yeah.
It's not.
Which is how much you pay for a Switch nowadays because
it costs exactly what the Xbox One costed when it came out.
And from a PC gaming standpoint, from someone with a PC system and everything, you can't build anything equivalent to that for $500 on a PC. You would get that thing would smoke a $500 computer. So I mean, the value's in the system. It's not like they're just charging that because it's buzzwords. There's actual stuff in there that makes it worth that much money, which is rare for a console. But I mean,
I could actually see this working if this had been what they came out with to start with.
Well, I think they wanted to see the adoption rate of 4K, which I still think is slow. But as people start to upgrade and 4K becomes more available, it's a no-brainer right now. If I went to buy a 4K TV and I didn't have a gaming console, I would 100% buy a 1X. The Pro is such a half step. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like it kind of does this upscaling thing. It kind of does this, kind of does that, but it's not really pushing 60 frames in 4K.
I mean, it is, but it's cheaper and it's like it came out earlier, so I guess they banked on that.
That's basically the cross you have to bear whenever you come out first. Somebody usually beats you after the fact because they get to take a look at what you did and go, okay, bump that up.
Just look at Nintendo. It's always like that.
That's why they don't go to these conferences anymore.
So even though it was a hardware year for Microsoft, I mean, the leaks have been there forever for the Xbox One X, right? But what I saw was pretty good. I mean, I liked all the stuff I heard about.
I thought they actually officially announced most of the shit because they gave who are the guys that always do the frame rate comparisons?
Yeah,
Digital Foundry.
Yeah,
they gave them all the internal stats for it and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was all official. I didn't think it was leaks.
No, well, I mean, there was a press conference a while back where they didn't actually tell you what was in it, but they had the devs talk about what they were able to do with it.
Oh, yeah, the whole highest quality pixels nonsense.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, I mean, but now we got, actual quantifiable stuff. And then as soon as they announced it, you started to hear all these devs actually come out at E3 and say, yeah, we got a dev kit, and within hours, we were running at 60 frames 4K. So, I mean, what they're saying is it's not that much difficult to program for. And they're saying it's basically like programming for PC. I want to say the Path of Exiles guys, who were, kind of an indie-ish PC studio, but now they're branching out, getting into Xbox One X. They're like, yeah, this thing's really easy to work with. And I mean, one of the things I've learned from being in the console wars for however long as I have is you want to hear that from devs early on that this thing is easy. We can take advantage of the tech that's in it. Because if you guys remember the Cell,
don't want the fucking Sony PlayStation Cell processor.
Yeah, exactly. or the Wii Waggle control and stuff, and devs are like, "This thing sucks," you know what I mean? And then
or anything that was motion control because everybody hated working on those things.
Yeah,
you can waggle them. It's fun.
It showed when
third party. It's telling that with the Switch, Nintendo's moved back to something that accommodates a more traditional control scheme.
Yeah.
Even as it does have the ability to do the wacky motion control
waggle.
Stuff.
I mean, let's be honest though, the Wii earned them hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, so they were going to keep the waggle for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As far as games, one thing I wanted to mention too, Mixer looks really good as a Twitch alternative. Did you guys watch the Microsoft presentation on Mixer?
Nope.
I did, yeah, actually.
It looked
I think
really
I might have
good.
missed that.
I got kind of like a what is it, Silicon Valley moment where it's like, okay, here it is. We're gonna unveil this program at a big E3 stream where millions of people are gonna watch. It actually looked really good. I think it was the only one that hit true 4K. So Mixer.
Did you log in with your Microsoft account?
Yeah.
And fucking they give you Rare Replay.
Yeah, they give you Rare Replay and a couple other add-ons.
Ooh, I might have to check that out, but I don't have an Xbox One.
Yeah, well, I mean, step one, get free Rare Replay. But so it's like a Twitch alternative, but as you're logged in and you're watching somebody's streams, you earn energy the longer you watch, right? And at let's say 2 minutes in, you get 100 energy. You can then influence something in that game. They were showing it with Minecraft, and basically you could spawn a pig, or you could put in a dynamite, or you could level the guy up, or it was kind of cool. You have interactivity within the game through Mixer.
It's not like they're gamifying watching games, which is a little weird to me.
I have an idea. Let's do this podcast live, and people will earn points. And whenever they spend 100 points, the Kappa will say something fun.
You can earn things by playing.
But
I actually kind of do want to live stream this at some point and see what happens.
Oh, good God!
It's dumb to us, but think about the next generation. More kids are watching Let's Plays and YouTube streams than playing the fucking game. That's crazy to me. But
also, for a comparison, the fucking feed on Mixer, is it right?
Yeah.
Watching that, flawless. Fucking trying to watch the Sony stream.
Sony, oh my God! When we get to that,
okay, yeah,
right.
We'll get to that shortly.
But can we get to games that Microsoft showed, because there was some shit there that I want to talk about.
I only
showed off
four
a
games
lot
that
of
I
games.
cared about at that press conference.
I have a big list. First, they showed Assassin's Creed Origins, and oh my god, I want that game.
Yeah, I'm 100% back into Assassin's Creed. I got the Game Informer last week. The RPG angle is exactly what that series needs to kind of revitalize it, I think.
There are fucking Dark Souls bosses in that game. Yeah. I watched, like, because they showed it here, then they showed it at Ubi, then they showed a 30-minute gameplay demo, then there was like a 42-minute interview with Jeff Keighley where they showed off a bunch more stuff, and oh my god, I'm taking time off work for that game.
Yeah, it's
but why?
You know what they really need to have to that game though is like legit stealth elements. That's what that game needs.
Yeah. But why didn't they show that game on the main floor? Like they said, like, oh, here's a snippet, and then you can watch all of the rest of the game
on this tiny screen.
Yeah. What the fuck? The screen was like 50% glare. I didn't see shit.
Tiny screen? That was the Ubisoft press conference where they had the tiny screen.
Yeah. It was so bizarre, especially like since Assassin's Creed is like their, like their best franchise. Like I don't get it. I just don't.
Was it like that time when Adult Swim showed the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie on Adult Swim before it came out?
Yeah.
And they just put in that little small screen.
Yes, they showed the whole of Assassin's Creed, a new Assassin's Creed on that small ass screen with the glare. Like, figure it out, assholes.
Just like reading and seeing more, and this is like what we were talking about earlier. The more you see after the demo, Assassin's Creed looks so good. Having gear that you have to manage and a Final Fantasy X style leveling tree. I mean, the fact that like if you try to assassinate somebody higher level than you, you're just going to do damage. Then you're going to have to fight them. There's a lot there to make that game move towards an RPG system.
It actually has proper fighting now instead of like all just react. It has like it's basically Dark Souls combat now.
They showed somebody fighting and trying to do like the parry combat, like and they got murdered in like 2 seconds. I was like, "Yep, this is new."
That's good, but I really don't like the Assassin's Creed story and its world and its characters and everything basically. And the combat was kind of crappy, and there's a bunch of stuff
that's fair. I mean, I think they can. Like I said, I think the big things they need to resolve are making the traversal a little bit more freeform, and adding actual stealth elements.
No,
and
but
if they add those to the game, I think they can make something worthwhile.
Yeah, but really, what happened with Assassin's Creed story? I don't even know where it went.
Who cares about the story? It's an Assassin's Creed game. It's some historical bullshit every time.
Desmond thing, Jesus Christ. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Is Desmond Jesus or something? I can't really keep track.
Yes, Desmond is Infinite Jesus.
Yeah.
Infinite Jesus.
Yeah, Desmond's been dead since like Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah, but he'll come back.
They still talked about him in Assassin's Creed 4 and Black Flag and whatnot.
So Assassin's Creed 4 was Black Flag.
Yeah.
Who cares? It's Assassin's Creed.
State of Decay 2 is another thing. I reckon they had the whole fucking. You need to look at stuff after the show to actually find out what it is. I spent so long explaining what State of Decay was to a bunch of people after that show because I saw a lot of people thinking it was just like it was the same as that on fucking Zombie One.
It looks like Dying Light or something like that.
Have you guys played State of Decay?
I played a ton of it.
I just
different kind of game.
A little bit.
That game with co-op is going to be like a sneaky game of the year. I'm telling you right now, like that has so much potential to really to hit all those sweet spots because that game is brilliant. The way they do everything in that game is really smart and giving them more time to work on it and then allowing them to do what they want and then sticking 4-player co-op in it. That has a lot of potential for a game that kind of flew under a lot of radars.
Yeah,
it was.
State of Decay was a game that was really, really good, but kind of jank as fuck.
Yeah,
like it just needs a lot more polish, and it looks like that's what State of Decay 2 is. And I'm excited
we'll see. It's another zombie game, though. I don't know how the tolerance for zombies.
It's really not, though. I mean, like that's kind of the trick about State of Decay. I mean, yeah, there's zombies that are the bad guys, but really, it's like it's your health, it's your your happiness.
It's very much
so. It's a survival zombie game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like
it's not a survival game as in the survival genre of games. It's like an actual survival game.
Yeah, I know it's better than those, but it's still kind of like there's a lot of similar games like it. So I hope it manages to like pierce through that.
Oh yeah. You know. One of the worst of E3s that I wrote down definitely is we don't need any more survival games. I mean, right?
Yeah, thank you, PlayerUnknown.
At this point, I've got enough.
I don't know.
Why PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds?
I love that game. That's such a good game, though.
So, like some of the other games Microsoft showed off, they actually showed off a lot of indie games.
Yeah, ton of them.
Yeah.
Like they showed off Tacoma last night, The Artful Escape. A lot of these look really good. It seems like, again, we were talking about how Microsoft and Sony switched roles.
One of my favorite stories of the fucking thing, where it's like everyone's like, "The Last Night looks amazing," and then like 10 minutes after that was shown, there was all the Twitter shit about that dude being an absolute psycho, and it was. Have you guys seen that tweet? It's just like, everyone's obsessed with this new duck. 15 minutes later, sorry to inform you, the duck is racist. It was like that in real life.
Wow.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Anyway, they did show off like a lot of interesting indie games, which is like it seems like they've switched roles with Sony, right?
Yeah.
Like Sony came out of the gate at the start of this generation saying like we're going to champion indie games. Look at all these indie games we got on our console, and now Microsoft is like, Microsoft is like stealing Sony's show and showing off all these neat indie games.
It really does feel like that. Really, I mean, it feels like they switched spots this year. I couldn't throw money at my screen hard enough for Cuphead. I'll tell you that. That game.
Yeah. Thank you for release date. Final.
I don't know. The last thing I saw about Cuphead that was more in depth was showing the levels, and it didn't look good. The boss fights looked fantastic though. Still,
I'll say the aesthetic looks amazing.
Yeah.
But oh my god, this is like from the levels they showed off. This is some of the most atrocious level design I've ever seen.
That's fine with it.
Exactly.
That aesthetic will get me through that game alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to crying
on paper at 30 frames a second every sprite in that game because they are fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
Look, I will say that Shantae, I played the last Shantae game, and that's got some problems in its levels.
Yeah.
And I will play the hell out of Cuphead because I played the hell out of Shantae. So
yeah, you can power through it, but I wish they just, because people were complaining that it looks like it's just boss rush, and they said it's pretty much just a boss rush, and people were like, "Wow, it's just a boss rush," and then they just added these levels, and I'm not sure.
I don't have a problem with that. But
I'm not on board with those.
Here's one thing I saw out of their whole indie spotlight portion was
Minecraft.
I didn't really see anything like Cuphead. We already know what that is. That's we know what that is. We've seen it. You don't even have to tell us exactly what it is. We can tell just by the artwork. The other stuff like Last Night, Tacoma, The Artful Escape, I didn't see anything that I looked at because all I did was look at it and get question marks over my head, like I was in a video game.
Like people say, "Oh, I love Tacoma," but I say like they showed
you don't know what
10 seconds of that game.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing
been
there.
shown before though. A lot of people know what that is from previous demos.
Yeah, but still,
Artful Escape had a Kickstarter pitch. Last Night I don't think has been shown before. Ashen's been shown at previous.
Last Night was announced quite a while back.
The new Ori, right?
Yeah.
Also, low key, can we just say I reckon Ashen might be Game of the Year if it comes out this year? Because have you guys seen anything about that game? That game
looks wonderful.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
The whole concept of that game is it's like an open world kind of RPG kind of thing where you go out and you meet other players in fucking Journey style, like they're just randomly around the world with you, and you have a home, like everyone goes to this main home base city and everything. But if you go back to that city with someone you've met in the game world and then they log out in the city, their character stays there and becomes an NPC that then moves into your city and builds up how your city grows.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I didn't get that at all from the conference.
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
what the hell are you even talking about? I have no idea.
It sounds like you describe a completely different game.
Yeah.
Shit, like from a couple of years ago. This is the whole thing where they just showed games and didn't tell you anything about them. And it's fucking confusing.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff where, like, I looked at that whole portion. I'm like, all right, Ori, Cuphead, I know what these are.
Yeah.
Ori's definitely going to get bought. Cuphead's definitely going to get bought. What the fuck is all the rest of this?
Here's the list. These are actually pretty good. So PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, that's indie-ish, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
That Deep Rock Galactic game, did you guys see that one with the dwarves? Like it's like a Minecraft shooter.
Yeah.
State of Decay 2, Darwin Project. That was the one with the crazy announcer. Remember that was like a fake gamecaster?
Oh, was that the one?
Which one? I
where
don't.
It just turned into a one-on-one
Hunger Games kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah, that's the one I was. That's
weird.
The one I was talking about where it got worse because that was one of the worst moments of this entire conference.
Yeah, Black Desert is considered an indie. I don't know how. It's a huge game.
So.
I guess it's because it's not by a major publisher.
I guess because it's foreign, so they're like, oh.
Artful Escape, Tacoma, Cuphead, Ashen, and Ori. That's a pretty good list of indies. I mean, that's that's not a bad list. You got a lot of different stuff in there.
You also had Ublex, right?
The game they showed, which was the fucking Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Holy
shit.
That
was cool.
That looked cool.
I fucks about Marvel vs. Capcom anymore because fucking put that game in me.
Yeah. Yeah, that I don't care about Dragon Ball Z, but man, that looked cool.
Yeah, I will have both of them.
All right. Sure. In the interest of time, let's move on to Bethesda now, because I think we've kind of dissected Microsoft.
Let me talk about Crackdown. Okay.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Crackdown. Sure. Just Terry Crews.
Yeah, I like Terry Crews, man. But Crackdown 3, there's something about it. That game does not show well. I don't know if it's the cell shading or what. It doesn't show well to me. What's that?
I'm excited for that game, but that trailer was really disappointing.
Yeah.
And they had to do tweeting afterwards that no, the destruction is still in the game. We just couldn't tell you because we weren't allowed to fucking talk at the conference.
Yeah. But Crackdown 3 and Sea of Thieves kind of did two different things. Like Sea of Thieves actually looked cooler this time, even though it had a more boring trailer, whereas Crackdown had a more exciting trailer. But it's just something, I don't know if it's the cell shading or what, it just didn't click for me at all. I'm glad Terry Crews in it because I think he's hilarious. But yeah, it does, and I think it's got to be the cell shading because it doesn't really let the graphics kind of work. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm still excited for Crackdown. It's just for some reason.
Honestly, to me it looked a little bit more exciting than say Agents of Mayhem, which they've also been trying to demo at the conference. And everything I see about Agents of Mayhem makes me just wish it were Crackdown.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's at least doing better by comparison.
Sea of Thieves looked way better outside of the conference then.
Yeah.
Like I watched Polygon's gameplay and it was a fucking riot. I loved it. Yeah.
Because I've had such a hard time of what did the people always used to say about No Man's Sky? Yeah, but what do you do in the game? Like that's what I've always said about okay, yeah, but what do you do in Sea of Thieves? Because if I'm literally working the sales while some jackass on Xbox Live is just yelling at me the whole time, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's not my idea of a fun afternoon.
Exactly.
So, but seeing the gameplay this time, it kind of all clicked for me. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get what you guys want me to do. I get a party, we go find a treasure map, we do all this kind of stuff. The only thing that wasn't really answered was persistence. I mean, did they really answer anything about persistence in that game? Like as far as
we talked about that before, where basically it's not an MMO. It's not like big world where everyone is involved. It's basically instances, and there's said they want encountering other players to be super rare. So there's only going to be 2 or 3 other crews in your world, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be like that. That one game where you had the blimp ships, and you fought each other. Yeah, that's what it was.
Dragonauts?
No, Guns of Icarus is Guns of Icarus is like an online MMO, but literally each person does one job on a blimp.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a steampunk blimp game.
Yeah. But
we've talked about the whole persistence thing before. It's like your own instance world, and you will run into people occasionally, kind of again like fucking Journey, where there will be just a couple of other people.
There's a lot of design in Sea of Thieves that I could imagine it makes sense, and it's kind of Rare's way of doing things, but it looked kind of it looked simultaneously cool and annoying. Do you remember that one part where they were looking at the treasure map, and it was go down to this where the sun doesn't shine or something like that.
Yeah,
and,
it gives you clues.
Yeah, and I mean and then I don't know, if you're not the person with the treasure map, you got to hold the map up for other people to look at it. It's just there's literally no UI in the game, so I mean you're just kind of
it's interesting. Hey guys, We have still 6 conferences to talk about. My God, let's.
Jesus.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about Bethesda.
Yeah, let's go.
There's like 3 where I have nothing to talk about, though.
Bethesda should take like 5 minutes.
That's true.
Nothing much happened at this conference, right?
Yeah, it was 5 minutes.
Wolfenstein. That's what.
So
happened.
they booked a 1 hour slot, and then talked for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was really nothing to show off here. They didn't really announce anything new in terms of games. I mean, they announced Skyrim and Fallout VR, I think.
Yeah,
Who cares?
no.
Who cares?
Yep.
This conference is literally, I regret staying up for this.
Yeah, nobody cares about this.
They tried to give it this weird, like 1950s jazzy theme
Yeah.
going on.
I didn't mind that. It's just what they had to show. I'm not going to buy Skyrim again, ever.
Yeah,
So,
that's crazy that they're still talking about Skyrim in
Yeah.
2017.
Yeah, we're putting it on Switch.
Conferences this year.
yeah.
Pretty soon,
like-
Skyrim will be on every single thing you have. You have a microwave, Skyrim will be on it.
You got a Game Boy Color?
Yo, they eventually put GTA San Andreas on phones.
Yeah.
So, I could download San Andreas to my iPhone right now and play it. It's freaking weird.
Even Wolfenstein, which is a game I enjoyed, I liked playing it. I'm actually replaying it now because that I got reminded about it. I don't. BJ's dead. What's going on with that? I mean, like,
What's that? He's super dead.
Who cares? Who
Yeah, but
cares?
the story was that
Spoilers.
I mean, if you haven't played,
Oh no.
how old is Wolfenstein now?
BJ is alive in the new
Well-
Wolfenstein.
Well, I mean, it's
Goes
not
out
like
the window.
it's not like they're trying to like reboot the game or whatever. It's just it's such an emotionally powerful ending that
Yeah.
this man sacrifices himself for the greater good,
Yeah, guess what?
realizing
Like,
that he's like his purpose in life is to destroy the enemy, and there's really nothing left for him beyond that.
Yeah.
Like there's something very emotionally powerful in that moment, and having him alive in the sequel kind of undermines that.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on. There's still a possibility that you get the twist that the
Punished.
that the Nazis hold on, the Nazis cloned BJ,
Oh, God.
and then they sent him out as a sleeper agent.
Nobody clones my BJ.
That's gonna be really weird. Like he's just gonna show up midway through the game and be like, "Hail Hydra!" out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
he's gonna get the Captain America treatment.
And he's like, love can bloom on the battlefield.
War has changed.
Or has changed.
So they actually did it. They actually did announce one other game. They announced The Evil Within 2, but I don't know anybody who liked The Evil Within 1, so I don't
Yeah.
know what the excitement level for
Yeah.
this is.
It looked
Way
interesting.
too much
though.
going
It looked
wrong.
kind of interesting.
No.
Again, apparently they showed a big gameplay trailer after the conference, and it was
Yeah,
pretty
because
good.
that was
We
nothing.
didn't get to fucking see that.
Sure, as always.
Oh yeah, and they also announced that Dishonored DLC. I wasn't the hugest fan of Dishonored 2, so I'm not really excited about this, but it could be interesting.
Yeah.
I watched the Bethesda conference on the Giant Bomb stream where they kind of talk over the conference, and one of the
Yeah, me
guys
too.
said exactly what I feel about Dishonored. He's like, it's the kind of game I wish I was more into. Like every time I'm like, that game looks cool, and then like I play it for 20 minutes, I'm like, I hate this fucking game. And I just uninstall it, and I'm like, oh yeah, wait a minute. Then I see that DLC, I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I'm like, wait a minute, I hate
Like,
Dishonored.
It's
Yeah,
the cooler Thief, but it's like kind of. It's not fully there. So I wish I'd
After
liked
the
it
Thief
more.
reboot, every game is the cool Thief.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Assassin's
yeah.
Creed's a better stealth
Harsh
game than
words.
Thief at this point.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
that's a
no.
low
Thief,
blow.
Thief
there.
4 was not good.
That is a low
Um,
blow, Ben.
Yeah. I don't,
Yeah, but true.
no. Well, okay. I'm not a fan of Assassin's Creed, so I'm not going to. Okay, let's move on. Now that's
I have
Next
third-degree
conference,
burns
please.
for these hot takes.
Yeah, there's one other important announcement that we should talk about regarding Bethesda,
Okay.
and that's their "quote unquote" creation club, which let's face it is paid mods 2.0.
Oh yeah. Whatever.
Every other attempt they've made at this has failed.
Yeah.
Why do they keep trying to bring it back?
So
Because they
here's-
don't know what the
Because
definition
they
of
get a
insanity
cut of the
is.
money.
So as somebody who
Nice one.
uses a
Ninjaneer.
shitload of mods. I think my last version of Skyrim, I had about 134 mods running, right?
Yeah.
And my Fallout probably has more. I kind of get it. Like, I kind of get it, because if you start to get really into the modding, I'm not just saying, like, I'm going to download a nude pack or whatever, I'm saying really into it.
Why not?
There's a lot of, there's a lot of annoyances that comes with mods, because those games, you have to bash them, you have to use loot to put them in the proper load order, you have to get the dependencies right. If what they're talking about is providing that support to modders, and then basically, because there's two ways to install the mods, right? You can basically stick it into the game files, or you can make like almost like a mod as like a DLC, so it loads it along with the game files proper. I think that's what they're trying to do, is add actual mod support to the games, and then provide the support to the modders, and then of course at a cost. Because it is expensive if you're going to be having a team of people to support these mods. I kind of get it. I want the modders to get paid because I've played some amazing mods. I want them to get paid.
Yeah, that is my big thing. I want to know what the share Bethesda are taking versus what the share the modders are getting. Because I'm all about supporting the modders, but I think Steam was like 25% to the modders and the 75% to Steam, which fuck that.
Yeah, if it's 90-10, you know what I mean? So like 90% is going to the modder, 10% is going to Bethesda for actually
No, that ain't gonna happen.
But if it does, I'm totally fine with it, because I've experienced the headache of dealing with all these mods, and it's not as easy as people make it sound. Oh, I just download a mod and it runs great. No, there's so many weird dependencies, and there's so many things that break the game, and then every time there's a patch, it breaks everything. You've got to re-download everything, and it is a hassle. And I use Nexus for my Skyrim mods. Nexus is great at what it does. They've got a downloader. They provide support, but they're not the developer. You know what I mean? Like, they can't go into the game and sort shit out for you.
And
PCs were always better for mods. Like, no question.
Here's my thing.
Ninja, go ahead.
Here's my thing that they haven't still worked out, though, and this was a complaint that I've heard from somebody on a different podcast. Yes, I do listen to other podcasts. Sorry, I know they do exist, but basically what they pointed out was, when you do put like a whole bunch of mods together, they're not all by the same person.
Right.
You're going to, and in a lot of instances, some of those mods are going to be built on somebody else's mod. Mm-hmm. So what happens if, say, somebody puts out their mod for free, but it's built on a mod that somebody decided you have to pay for?
Yeah,
that mod's useless.
That's where it gets really, really annoying. Like, there's like dependencies, right? Like, there's a good there's a mod that, like, let's say adds guns to Skyrim, right? But then somebody says, okay, you need this mod, but here's this version of this shotgun that you can add to Skyrim. So that's where it gets really complicated. I would imagine that they're not going to allow mods that have specific dependencies into the Creation Club unless they have that master mod in there. Because what I think, this is just my guess, this is someone who mods a lot of Skyrim. My guess is what they want to do is, if you, like, let's say this house is a really popular mod, right? Millions of downloads, millions of whatever. It's really popular. They're going to basically put that game in the game world, put that mod in the game world, and then you just basically click a box, and then when you have that mod, it scripts around it, it provides a mesh around it, so that you're not getting all the weird interactions that you sometimes have, where if you put a house in the middle of Bruma, for example, right? And then all of a sudden all the NPCs' paths are broken because they can't go through that area. And now this quest is broken because this NPC can't get through it. So all this stuff kind of like snowballs in Skyrim. And that's why every mod is like, you've got to basically start, if you're going to load a ton of mods, you got to start on a fresh save, because it breaks so many things in the game world. So my guess is that's the kind of, because when they say mod support, people are like, what mod support? You know, these guys are doing it by themselves. That's kind of true, but if you've really worked a ton with mods in those games, you know it's as janky as it gets. I mean, like, so I think there's a space for mod support, and I don't expect them to do it for free. I'm not stupid, but I would like the modders to get plenty of the more of the cut than 75%. I'd also like it to be something where, if I want to download a mod, whatever these credits end up being, are something like, I don't know if you guys play any games on Uplay.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So you know how you get those Uplay? You know how you get those Uplay points? So just for playing the game, you know, and then you can download like wallpapers and So that's what I'm hoping Bethesda credits end up being. Like, oh yeah, you play through Fallout, and every time you get a chapter, we give you 10 credits, and then each mod is 1 or 2 credits or something like that. You know.
It's gonna end up being
I
like
think...
you buy credits in packs of 500, and all the mods cost 450.
No, guys, I know how it's gonna work. You're gonna click a box, then you hear a knock on your door. You open up, it's Mr. Bethesda, and he says, "You wanna install that Big Dicks mod, eh? $5 per inch, motherfucker. Pay me."
Well,
$5 per dick.
You're gonna get credits, and you're gonna buy a mod loot box for 450, and you don't know what the mod is. You just have to hope you get the one you want.
Like a chest.
The only thing I don't want to happen out of this at all is for like Durante to fix somebody's fucked up game, because as we all know, Bethesda's
and then you have to pay Bethesda for it. That's gonna happen, isn't it?
Yep. We all know that Bethesda's gonna make a fucked up game. Durante's gonna fix it, and then all of a sudden, everybody's gonna pay for mods in order for that game to work.
You're gonna have to
oh boy,
to get mod that fixes their fucking game. That's so gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does not seem like it's gonna.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna go that far, but I think we're definitely gonna see charging for things that were once free.
Yeah.
And nobody likes paying for things they used to get for free.
I got a feeling that it's going to hit hard. We already saw what happened when they came out with the shit, and it was extra confusing, and everybody got up in arms about it. And then wait until they bring it out, and they made it a little bit more streamlined this time, but something's going to happen where somebody's going to be like, oh, wait, that's not right. And then we're going to have a revolt again.
Or it's just going to stay like it is and whatever.
Besides Bethesda, I'd have a lot more faith. But since it's Bethesda doing it, I don't.
But
Bethesda
we're
is hard
talking
to trust,
about
for sure.
older games. They're already kind of older games, especially Skyrim. I don't think as many people will care about that as they did back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. There was so far the reaction to this has not been positive.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they do with it. Let's move on to talk very briefly
thank
about
God.
Devolver Digital.
Yes.
Best show conference.
Yep.
Hands down.
Number 1, 10 out of 10.
So,
5 stars.
This is interesting in that they didn't really hold. They advertised that they were going to hold some sort of press event as part of an all-night live stream. They're going to kick off with a sort of press event. It turned out not to be a real press event.
Yep.
It turned out to be this pre-recorded, mostly satirical. Sorry, go ahead.
Did you look at the advertising for their press event, which specifically advertised no new games and the exploitative business options of the future today? Those were the two things they were advertising for their press event.
Yep. You got everything as advertised.
So it wasn't a real press event in that sense. That was a mostly satirical.
I don't know. Looked pretty
pre-recorded
real
video.
to me.
Making fun of E3 pressers. Yeah, it was really real when the woman's head blew up.
Hey, I want to throw money at the screen and get what I want.
I don't care if
I think it's called a credit card. Yeah, it's so they did actually show off a couple of games during the fake presser, which made it all the weirder. A couple of real games, by the way. I think they should have gone all the way with the conceit and just shown off fake games.
That would have been
them
too
real.
confusing, maybe.
That would have been great if they just shown off fake games.
Yeah, but they would have made them real eventually. That's how Devolver works.
Yeah. Also
See, I would have been cool with that if they'd make these games that were fake and then 6 months later said, by the way, these are actually real games. I would have been cool with that.
That's how they work.
like Robert Rodriguez machete in video games.
It was the dumbest thing I watched probably all week. It was so dumb. It was like an Adult Swim pilot that didn't make it to air.
Infomercial. It was like the Adult Swim late night infomercial of press
Yeah.
conferences.
Truth be told, I watched like 5 minutes of it and said, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay,
see,
I see what you're doing here.
On the one hand, I thought it was really stupid. On the other hand, I kind of do respect the guts it takes to waste everyone's time.
Hey, it was only
a
15
huge
minutes.
Waste.
It
But
was
it was,
15
It was
minutes.
like 25 minutes of wasted time.
Yeah.
What impresses me is Devolver have some big fucking games coming up, and they just didn't give a shit. Like Absolver. Absolver looks amazing, and it's coming out in August, I think. And the most you saw of it is it was on the screen when the dude was throwing money at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ruiner looks pretty cool too.
Ruiner looks amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
But I think somebody called it I can't remember what I was reading about E3, and they basically said that Devolver Digital is it's just like the equivalent of a shit post at E3, and it's like it perfectly describes how I felt about that. I was like, okay, whatever. Yeah, because you made fun of E3 while being at E3. It's like, what do you want me to do, man?
I don't think they were actually at E3. Like that was
They had like some displays set up technically outside E3.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're really weird.
I mean, you can make fun of the medium while being in the medium.
Yeah, you can.
Like, did anyone watch
Sorry,
that
repeat.
live stream?
Did I watch the live stream?
Like, because they did
later?
like an 8-hour live stream after it.
Well, I didn't stay up all night. That's for sure.
Like, at some point, Johnny Mundo, the wrestler, comes out and starts talking about a movie from like 2 years ago. They watch they just watched Ninja Scroll at one point. Like,
Okay.
Didn't they watch a movie he was in too?
yeah, they watched like Johnny Mundo's movie. Like, he doesn't even come out and talk about wrestling. He comes out and talks about his fucking movie. Like,
Yeah.
I think
It was really bizarre.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
I on stream and then came back 20 minutes later.
Yeah, this is actually not too far off base from what I would expect from Devolver. So I'm like, hey,
Yeah,
Yeah.
keep in mind,
Yeah.
this is an 11-person company.
yeah,
Right? They're not gonna have a big glitzy stage show.
Nope.
If anything, I think the whole point of this was like it's kind of brilliant. They get their name out there. There are probably thousands of people tuning in to watch E3 who have never even heard of Devolver Digital, and now that's a name that they have in the back of their heads, and now it's a name they're going to be paying attention to.
Started the conference with like the Twitch live stream of the chick going, "So what are we watching next? I think it's Devolver. Who the fuck are Devolver? They some shitty like indie company." And the chick just walks off, and the stream stopped.
Yeah, so they definitely did something clever. I think whether it was actually entertaining to watch, I think that's going to depend from person to person. Let's move on to something that's technically not E3 but happens at the same time as E3, the PC gaming show. So this actually, I think this is the third annual PC gaming show. They had one 2 years ago, which was awful. They had one last year, which was slightly better. I think this is the best. I don't think it's still a good show ever, even this year.
Yeah, I didn't
but I
watch
think this is the best one they've
Do you
had
mean
by far.
Do you mean the PC gaming show powered by Intel? Because
Yeah,
if you didn't know,
no
it was
longer powered by
Intel.
AMD.
Oh,
Now
it's not
powered by Intel.
by Doritos and Mountain Dew this year.
No, it is powered by
I
Intel.
wish it was powered by caffeine.
Every 20 minutes they talked about Intel. And because Intel right now, I don't know how much you guys follow the PC gaming world, but right now Intel basically has a lot of bad rep among PC gaming enthusiasts because of holding back the i9 until basically AMD pushed them to release it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are kind of mad about that. So I think Intel was kind of looking to leverage a little bit of goodwill back.
They're still going to buy their shit. Let's not kid ourselves.
Intel's the best thing out there. The Threadripper is the dumbest name I can imagine. Somebody said Threadripper sounds like a particularly violent fart. And the other one is
Rip and
Ryzen.
tear and rip.
Yeah. PC gaming show was my bread and butter, and I mean, I did like a lot of the stuff they announced. A lot of esports bullshit, which like esports bullshit and VR are like the two things I just tune out. People start talking esports or VR, I'm like, all right, let me know when the next thing comes out. But yeah, I mean, a lot of cool news on at least Lawbreakers. Looks like it's coming out, maybe. I don't know.
Lawbreakers coming out. It's coming out to consoles, which I swear Cliffy B said was never going to happen to him. But...
Yeah, he was very big into that.
Cliffy B came in from the nether realm.
It's coming out on August 18th.
I haven't seen Cliffy B in who knows
Sorry,
how.
August 8th.
Oh,
August 8th.
Wow,
I can't read.
that's soon.
That's soon.
Yeah.
I also reckon they showed off Ooblets, which like looks adorable as fuck.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like Animal Crossing.
Why just
Pikmin
super
kind of
excited for Ooblets?
Yeah.
It's like Pokemon fucking Harvest Moon or something.
Animal Crossing.
And Animal Crossing, my wife is shouting out to me.
There was a lot of
Tunic looked
yeah. I like Tunic.
like I have never heard of that game. That's one of the like that looks amazing though. I want to play the fuck out of that. And they announced a new game from Clay, Grifflands. I will buy anything Clay put out because like their games are great. So yeah,
But-
I'm in on that.
It was funny because I was watching that and my wife was behind me and she asked me if they were making a heavy metal video game. Do you guys remember heavy metal? Like the 70s, like boobs and B-17 bomber type of movie.
We're gonna deal with that green orb for an entire game.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what it looked like to her. And I was like, yeah, I can kind of see that.
I would if they were making a heavy metal game, I would fucking pre-order the shit out of that and buy that day one.
But it was a downer to end the show with Age of Empires and it not be a new game. Why?
That was so weird. They ended it with an Age of Empires remaster.
Yeah.
That's weird. Yeah.
It looks good, but the guy on stage basically said, "Hey, we're going to announce something at GDC." That I think he strongly hinted at an Age 4 on the horizon. So I wouldn't be shocked if they announced Age of Empires 4.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Age of Empires remaster exciting for people that like Age of Empires? I had no idea.
The core game is really good still, but the problem is that a lot of it is Windows 95 architecture. So if you get more than a dozen units on screen, it chugs. I mean, upscaling it looks good. They redid the sprites. I mean, every remake is kind of like, who cares to me? If you've already played it, but I wouldn't be against getting into some online Age again, because the core game is really good. Same as they're remastering like StarCraft. Same thing there. If a game is getting remastered and it has a good multiplayer and there's some kind of audience to it, I think there is potential.
When does that StarCraft remaster come
real
out?
soon, I think.
Never.
It's Blizzard. They'll take their fucking time.
But yeah, I mean, like not to get,
that's never coming, man.
Not to get too into like the Sony conference, but like a remaster of Age of Empires makes more sense to me than a remaster of or a remake. I'm sorry, of Shadows of the Colossus. Like,
we'll talk about
especially
that.
since we got a remaster of Shadows of the Colossus for PS3. Like,
they did.
That's really weird.
Yeah.
If that
it's
reversion didn't exist, I think the remake would be like an amazing. Yeah, and they definitely should do it. But
they were doing a remaster. Yeah, it did remaster, and it wasn't even that long ago. It was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
That's why people were so.
We're getting even ahead of ourselves right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, to bring it back to the PC gaming show, they did show off quite a few interesting games. Fewer indie games than I thought they would show off.
Yeah, same.
Like I guess it was Ooblets and that Shadowverse card game, and Tunic. Yeah, but for the most part, it was mainly big budget stuff, which is interesting to me because you usually think of PCs incubating indies.
Wildlands or whatever, the one.
Oh yeah, Wildlands. Yeah, like Islands, but Wildlands.
Really cool, right up until it turned into Minecraft.
Wildlands? Tom Clancy's Wildlands.
This is strange. These are the same people who made. It's weird to see the people who made Arma making this.
Yeah. It looks very. It looks like the graphics look almost like Monkey Island remake.
Weird.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not complaining.
No.
It doesn't look bad or anything. It's just it's weird that this is what they're making next. But hey, maybe it'll turn out great. Any other thoughts on the PC game?
Shadow of War, which didn't they? They showed off like the bit with the chick.
Did they show off the bit with Bruce, or was that another conference?
That's what I was going to say, because they showed off Bruz at the Microsoft conference, and Shadow of War without Bruz, I don't give a fuck about. But I love Bruz. That with him with Bruz in the Microsoft conference almost convinced me to buy that game, and then I saw the bit without him, and it's like, oh right, it's this.
Was Wargroove PC gaming show, or was that something else?
Wargroove?
Yeah, Wargroove.
Oh,
it's like a tactics over kind of game, but you can edit and create your own maps.
Oh shit! Yeah, that was that's also a Switch game though. That got announced in a big Switch thing ages ago.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, neat.
Like it's basically Advance Wars, another one, but yeah, which one was? Like, it was one of the big conferences they had, just not the Switch one, but the one after the Switch had come out, and they announced a bunch of like little games.
Oh yeah, one of the Nintendo Directs probably they announced it.
Yeah, I missed it. It's by the guys who did Stardew Valley, so I mean, I'm sure it'll be kind of, they kind of do remakes of games, but it's definitely Advance Wars.
Spiritual successors.
Stardew Valley? Wasn't that one dude?
I think he on the stage they had two people, so it was at least two, I think, for Wargroove.
Okay.
But it looked really cool, and like the fact that you can edit your own maps and like they basically made a map in, I don't know what it was, like 2 minutes. Cool. I'm pretty sure it was at the PC gaming show, but yeah, I like what I saw.
Yeah, it was gaming show.
No, Chucklefish, the guys who make Wargroove, they partnered to make Stardew Valley. I think they had a publishing deal with Stardew Valley. They actually made Starbound.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so they didn't, like, Eric Barone is the guy who made Stardew Valley, but I think they were a publishing partner.
Cool. Okay.
Anyway, so that was the PC gaming show. I think Sean Plott was okay this year as a host. He wasn't great, but these things aren't supposed to be extremely entertaining anyway.
Yeah, he didn't.
Let's talk about Ubisoft.
Yeah, 3 more conferences to go.
Woo!
Okay.
Woo!
Rabbits look way better than I was expecting. Like,
Mario XCOM, Mario Rabbids.
Yeah. And Miyamoto came on stage. It was cool.
Yeah. The developer cried.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even sold on this watching the trailer.
To him is like one of the most like just adorable things. Like, oh my god, that's like I kind of want to support the game just for that.
Yeah.
So
it was a very human moment in a sea of like the crass commercialism of E3, which I appreciated. The other thing I will say about this is I wasn't even sold on this based on the trailer, but I saw some gameplay, and this is like a more complicated XCOM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's more complicated.
Yeah,
it's like I'll say the metagame is less complicated than XCOM, but the actual battlefield tactics are probably more complicated than XCOM.
And it's a little bit more faster paced. I noticed. Like,
once he went through that pipe, I was like, that kind of changes things. Like, because if you're like an XCOM junkie, if you could think about moving a unit to the other side of the stage, doing an attack, and then getting a flank attack as well, which is what they showed, I was like, that's kind of a big deal in an XCOM game to basically go from a move to a double attack on the other side of the map.
Junkie is the best band name I've ever heard.
But I liked everything they showed about that game. I was actually really... I thought it would be kind of like a goofy... Yeah, rabbits are usually kind of just... I don't even know how to describe it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, minions, French minions.
Minions are Illumination's rabbits.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because rabbits came first.
You're right.
I like rabbits more than I like minions.
Funny. I mean, rabbits are actually funny. Minions are not.
Yeah, at the very least, rabbits have that scream that sometimes is funny, and minions have nothing, and I don't understand
They also
the
have
phenomenon.
They're both equally annoying to me.
Okay, fair enough.
But I really liked what they showed. I
really
was actually...
about like Mario XCOM is that like the characters we saw there, that's not your full crew. I really hope like you get Bowser and Wario and Waluigi and all that shit.
I'm sure.
I think what it seems like they said there'll be 8 characters. The other ones that are confirmed are Luigi, Peach, and most likely a rabbit, Yoshi, and a rabbit in a Yoshi costume.
Yeah, that was actually shown.
So it means there's one more secret one.
Yeah,
they
haven't
they
shown.
had like all 8 of them standing around with like the camera panning around them. Just like really hope there's more than just that because I want to see fucking like I want Bowser and shit. Like,
well, they did show.
I
a
want like
rabbit
Birdo and Toadette and everybody.
Wouldn't it be crazy if it really had a meta game? Like Mario comes back to the base and welcome back, Commander. It's a me, Mario. Wouldn't that be crazy?
It has a metagame and it has permadeath and like.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. No one up mushroom.
Commander, we have to dissect these rabbits. Yeah,
it definitely does not have permadeath, but it does have like a fairly complicated like leveling system and skill tree and everything.
I saw a skill tree and I was like, oh cool, this looks actually interesting.
Oh, and speaking of skill trees, Ubisoft is all up in the memes.
Yeah.
What Luigi's special ability is called, I believe, Steely Eyes or Steely Stare.
Like stare down or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is great.
A little bit late.
Because when people that aren't Nintendo make Nintendo brand games, they include all that shit that people love about it that Nintendo never will. Like how Pokemon Go had to cheat in it based on the fucking names of the characters from the anime and shit.
Yeah. Nintendo is always kind of like insular. You know what I mean? Like
Nintendo doesn't have any idea of what's happening on the internet.
Never.
Nintendo doesn't understand the internet even a little bit. Like they don't understand how to connect to the internet.
Yep.
Like
they need a friend code to get on.
Yeah, we don't understand how that works.
Line system, and people asked whether like they've been looking at fucking Microsoft and Sony, and they're like, we don't look at what other consoles are doing with their online.
Don't worry, Ben.
Really?
Don't worry, Ben.
I will. Xbox.
Ben, don't worry about it. I will have a whole statement about that when we get to Monster Hunter.
Hot takes.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to say about this is like, it's really interesting to see Nintendo fans make Nintendo games, especially like the composer they're bringing for Mario plus Rabbids is Grant Kirkhope, who worked on a lot of Rare games. You can see sort of that Rare aesthetic making its way into the design and the behavior of the characters. It's interesting to see sort of a mashup of kind of the joyful humor of Mario games with sort of more snarky humor of the Rare games. It's a really interesting mashup, and I don't know how it's going to work out in the end, but I'm intrigued.
But how fucking bizarre is the fact that Mario plus Rabbids equals XCOM?
Yeah,
in 100,000 years, I wouldn't have been like, no way.
When it first leaked, I thought it was just going to be like
Mario sliding into cover and blind firing at a guy.
Yeah, I was like, what?
That is shit.
No way.
So when it was first leaked, I thought it was just going to be like Paper Mario, but with rabbits.
Yeah, something
exactly.
like that.
And I heard it
Like I thought it was just going to be your standard turn-based thing.
Yeah,
They said it
even
was-
when they were like showing it off.
Fire Emblem, like it's gonna
Sure.
be like a Nintendo tactical RPG, but no, it's fucking XCOM.
Yeah, like I thought 7 different things before I realized it was XCOM. I was like, okay, it's a platformer, and they just walked around and was like, okay, maybe random encounters, and they were like, oh, we're in a battle now. And I was like, okay, maybe it's a tactics game, and then they started shooting guns, and I was like, what the fuck? Is this reality? I'm
actually super on board with this,
Yeah, it
and
was
I kind of want to switch
Yeah.
just for it.
Ubisoft to me it's a weird. They had the best show, but the worst pre-show, if that makes sense. Like, because there's actually like the stage show, and there's all the other stuff before and after it. All the Assassin's Creed stuff that they showed after it was okay, but actually on stage, I thought their presentations were pretty solid.
I think they were the only conference that actually put out like big surprising announcements that like shit we hadn't. Like, Rabbids got leaked, but Skull and Bones and fucking Beyond Good and Evil 2 and that
Starlink as well
Yeah,
was a
let's
surprise.
talk about that because I have something to say about that one.
Which
What
one?
about Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Yeah.
So, what I'll say is this. I think it's a nice surprise for the people who liked Beyond Good and Evil, but everything I've heard about Beyond Good and Evil 2 makes me think it's not really the sequel that people are looking for.
No.
I mean, for one thing, it's a prequel.
I'm a big fan of Beyond Good and Evil.
It's not going to have any of the characters from the first game.
Nope.
And it has, like, they showed off with this trailer that was full of cursing,
Yep.
which is really
I don't
weird
mind
compared
that.
to the first game.
Wait,
Also, like, and when they described it later, it seems like it has the kind of overambitious scope that killed Mass Effect Andromeda. If you've heard the stories, the behind-the-scenes stories of what happened to Andromeda.
Okay, as someone that every year for like the past 5 years, they're going to announce Beyond Good and Evil 2. They're going to announce Beyond Good and Evil 2, and they never do, and I hate them for it. I am so fucking excited. Like,
Yeah,
I
I'm excited.
want a sequel to Beyond Good and Evil 2. I want to know what happens to Paige at the end after that fucking cliffhanger, but still just going back to that world and that fucking kind of design. Like, oh my god, just the design of the world they fly through in that trailer is just the best visual design of anything in the show, I reckon.
Yeah,
And I love that world. Don't get me wrong.
It looks kind of like a weird.
I did not like that game. Yeah, I didn't like the game, but I love the world
What are you
design.
talking about?
No, that makes sense to me.
Beyond Good and Evil?
As someone who's
the gameplay of that game is atrocious, but the
what?
world is incredible.
look, I will
How
say
does like, this dude run the fucking gaming podcast when he doesn't like Beyond
right? What the fuck?
I didn't like it either, actually. So,
Oh, God damn.
I think it's a bad game.
Hold
But
on.
It,
I will say
it
this.
looks really nice.
I will
I'll give
say
it
this.
that.
Look, I will not dispute the fact that what they showed of Beyond Good and Evil 2 looks stellar. That's great. You know, they're going to have to change that. But the tone is wrong as far as I'm concerned.
It is different, but I think so much time has passed. Like
there's different, and then this is absolutely not related to the thing that came before it. They shouldn't even called it 2. They shouldn't even call it Beyond Good and Evil. They could have called it something else.
Yeah, maybe so, but okay, 2 things. I think Michel Ancel, I think that's
Michel Ancel,
Yeah.
yeah, that's his name.
Well, he's kind of owed, so he had to do
but he really wanted to make a game in that universe again, and I assure you, if they announced a game in this universe and didn't call it Beyond Good and Evil 2, there would be riots on
Oh yeah, I know. But the thing is, if they had taken out the fucks and replaced it with a like made up word like they actually used in Beyond Good and Evil, then it would have made more sense.
One thing that kind of shocked me about when they were going into the details about it afterwards, which again, fucking theme of the show. So Earth exists in Beyond Good and Evil?
Kind of,
like,
not
no,
really.
because they were saying that that's what they were saying in the after stuff that China and India were the dominant superpowers on Earth when they started exploring space, and that's why all the colonization is based so much about like Chinese and Indian theme. Like,
it is Earth, but it's like,
so
but it's
Earth
like,
is real?
yeah,
So
but it's like weird future Earth where
is this game on
created...
Earth then? Because the first game wasn't on Earth.
Yeah, it was on Earth. It was on Earth. The first game was also on Earth.
The first game was on Hillis.
No, if you look at the thing they've been saying afterwards, this game looks like it's like exploring a solar system, and you can like go between all the different planets, kind of like No Man's Sky, but good.
No, shit, you're right. The first game was on Hillis.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Yeah, but they did have the moon, and...
But they had their own moon.
Yeah, their own moon. Hillis. Weird.
Was Hillis the planet, or was Hillis the country? I'm never
No,
really
Hillis
sure.
was the name of the planet.
Okay.
Huh.
But,
that's weird, then.
They said,
I played this like 4 years ago. I've forgotten everything about it.
You don't...
Seamlessly go from, like, explore entire planets and go into space and shit, and I think it sounds overambitious, like Merve was saying, but also, we've seen for all its faults, fucking No Man's Sky did do that, and it was a team of about 20 people, and this is Ubisoft with, like, infinite money and hundreds of people doing a much smaller scale version of that, which I think could be fucking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the technical aspects of it. It's just the tone, and that can be make or break.
To Ninjaneer's point,
we'll see.
To Ninjaneer's point, I'd say I think the tone of the first was more uplifting and rebellious than it was just plain irreverent.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly if they've got the right thing. They're in sort of the right ballpark. I think we just need to tweak it a little bit. But we'll see. This is just a CGI trailer. We haven't seen any actual gameplay footage yet.
Which is disappointing. This game still could not happen.
Idea.
We've seen CGI trailers of Beyond Good and Evil 2 already.
Well, no,
so.
we saw CGI movies of Beyond Good and Evil 2 for things that weren't going to exist.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, yes, the planet is called Hillis and the moon is called Selene. So I guess it's a completely different planet.
That it is.
Can we talk about Skull and Bones for a second?
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Sure.
Oh, you mean Assassin's Creed Black Flag 2?
Yeah.
That is the most obvious thing I've ever seen of, like, well, people like this one gameplay element of a game. Let's make an entire game out of it. Like, that's more fucking transparent than the Quent, like, standalone card game.
But I enjoyed that part
now,
of Black Flag.
Everything I've seen, everything they announced about just made it sound like serious Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. But I mean, it's what it's going to end up being.
Which is the one thing that kills it compared to Sea of Thieves to me, because you're just always on the boat. You don't get to explore the islands and all that shit.
But the boats are a lot more detailed than anything in Sea of Thieves. I mean, they've got this is going to end up being. It's going to be like a MOBA. Like, think about it. Like, you got like a ship that's your class, right? You go into your lane, you collect your treasure in your lane. Eventually, the boss comes, which is going to be the pirate hunters, and then you have to verse other people in your lane. Now, that might just be the way the multiplayer is. I don't know if there's a single player or anything.
I mean,
but
I don't know if you will level up per map or it'll be like a constant level progression.
Well, I'd imagine what it is whatever treasure you get at the end, you get to use it to upgrade your ship, right? So it's kind of like a risk versus reward thing. How long, thinking like in MOBA terms, how far into a lane are you willing to dive to get treasure, knowing you might not be able to make it back when the pirate hunters spawn? Because those pirate hunters wrecked. I mean, if you weren't gone, you were dying. So, I mean,
there'll be one ship that will be the jungler, and one ship that will be the carry, and
like there'll be a tank ship, there'll be a fast ship, there'll be a that's the way I see it. I think it's a MOBA in disguise, which isn't a bad thing. It makes sense if you want to do a pirate game with different ships where the ships feel and play different.
The one thing that has me the most excited about that game, though, is the very end of the pre-rendered trailer where they showed there's going to be a fucking kraken in the game.
Yeah,
and if you get, like giant fucking monsters in that game, then shit, that's going to be.
Yeah, that'll be what you kill when you're the jungler. You will go left, and there'll be a bunch of krakens. You will kill them, level up, and then you'll go,
And then you use your special move.
Yeah, you ult. You're going to use your ult.
So, Ubisoft announced one more game at their conference, and it's called Starlink Battle for Atlas, which seems like their answer to Activision's Skylanders. What do you guys think of that?
That was super
Skylanders for adults, I think, because those figures look like way more detailed than Skylanders one, and it's like would also kind of appeal to people that like collect like shit models and shit.
I guess so, but it's such a niche audience. Who the fuck is going to buy that?
I've got to see what the buy-in on it is.
I'm going to buy the fuck out of that.
Okay.
I have chest full of fucking Skylanders out there. I have Marvel fucking whatever. I have amiibos all over the fucking place.
You like to collect those. Okay, you like to collect those then. Anybody else on this podcast is going to buy it?
I personally think we should have talked about Just Dance 2018 instead.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
We should talk about that. But before we get there, what I will say is these toys to games sort of things, I would be interested in them if I didn't if I had like a house where I could store a bunch of stuff. But I live in an apartment. I'm not gonna, buy stuff that I can't.
I have enough shit in my apartment.
Like, one thing they did say about it, though, is everything would be available digitally instead of buying the figures as well.
Then why the hell would you buy the figure?
Because figures are cool,
pretty. I just no.
I have
some people like
for
toys.
Games I don't own. I don't even own a fucking thing that can do the amiibo
I
scanning.
would never buy an amiibo.
Here's the other question. If you can buy it digitally, what's going to be the price difference? Because if it's nothing, then that's a problem.
Yeah, that would be weird.
That's what I want to. I want to see the cost.
Like, who's going to buy this? Look how huge PopCap vinyls and shit are at the moment. Like, people love buying.
People love toys.
Yeah, but that's a niche audience. Like, whatever you think, like it's an audience within an audience.
Yeah, it's
like,
it's a cross section within like, the gaming.
People
audience.
that play games and then people that collect shit to play games with. It's insane. I want you to see that.
But you.
All right.
So science isn't down for Lego Dimensions then.
No, I'm not.
That one. But yeah, like look how successful amiibos are. Obviously, there's a market for people that play games.
But those are Nintendo products. People will buy the shit out of all Nintendo products, regardless of whether they're, capable of using them in a game or not.
He's got a point.
Yeah.
Skylanders.
My kid's really into Lego Dimensions. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
But I mean, it's so much cooler because, like, at least with that, you can put a Simpsons character in Spy Hunter World. You know what I mean? Like, it's got a lot of like weird mixes to it.
A lot of IPs.
Yeah.
But isn't it also still Legos at the end?
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's a Lego. I don't remember T2 TT whatever the game is. It's very Lego. It's very irreverent and funny. But at the same time, it's not like I think they're trying to go kind of too serious with that game. It almost looked a little too serious to me. Like that's why I think the market is kind of confusing. I'd have to see if the game was $20 and the toy was $20, then maybe. But if that's a $60 game with a $30 toy, no thanks. I mean, if
they want to make a whole collection, like I don't see ships in space being like the thing that people really like. It's not like a lot of like the main audience of these things are like kids, right?
Yeah,
like, mostly. So like I don't know if they'll like be asking their parents to buy them like these ships that they can play with. They would rather probably play with Legos or like cool Disney characters or something.
Ships as a kid as toys, like it's a cool.
I mean, we'll see how successful it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody's really talking about this game, it seems like the amounts kind of flopped. But I don't know. Maybe they'll come back with a couple more trailers.
There's just
we'll get into it.
One more Ubi game.
One talked about anything from Ubisoft other than Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah, that stole a lot of thunder.
Yeah, that kind of overshadowed everything. Yeah. I do want to mention, though, the Just Dance 2018 showcase that they have.
There you go.
This year featuring Bubble Pop out of nowhere. Just like K-pop. Yes. Sure, why not? And apparently they got BB Rexa out of nowhere on stage, so good for them, I guess.
The stream fucked up when it told you the singer's name, and it didn't actually come out properly, so her name was blurred out, so you had no idea who it was.
You're right. No, he's right. On the stream, it didn't show her name or her album. It was all blurred out. Like it looked like they blurred it on purpose. Like they spelled something wrong or something.
It was probably Japan.
Yeah. They did. I know exactly what you're talking about because I thought the same thing too. Because I liked the song. I went to go look. I was like, I wonder who this is. And she said her name, but you couldn't see anything on the bottom. It was like all blurred out for some reason. Like it was like purposely pixelated.
It wasn't blurred out on my stream for some reason.
Weird. It was for me too. So.
Maybe you had a VPN that showed that you were in
Twitch
Japan.
channel, not on Ubisoft's channel. So who
there's
knows?
one more Ubisoft game I wanted to mention too, because I think it's a shot at redemption, and there's some background.
Far Cry 5?
The Crew 2.
The Crew 2.
Yeah, Far Cry
Okay.
5 is going to be fine. But so there's a lot of rumors about Vivendi trying to buy Ubisoft again. And I don't know if you guys lived through what Blizzard Vivendi was, or whenever Vivendi's been in.
Actibliz?
No,
like
before
Vivendi?
Vivendi
Oh,
used to
yeah.
own Blizzard back in the day. And there's a lot of rumors that Vivendi was kind of behind a lot of like, no, all you guys do is make this game type stuff with Blizzard.
Yeah, they're shady as fuck.
Yeah, so Vivendi's kind of like this like dreaded specter, and they've always been kind of like on the outside of Ubisoft, like lurking. So, I mean, as bad as Ubisoft is, you got to understand they've got to make as much money as they can so they can own as much of their stock to not get bought out by Vivendi. So what's weird was the Crew was kind of not well received. So the Crew 2 getting another release is kind of surprising to a lot of people. But there's also a lot of like I guess like internet rumors that Ubisoft is trying to take more chances with games to show like people like, hey, if you like this kind of stuff, consider buying our games, because if we get bought out, there ain't going to be no Steep. There's not going to be another Crew. There's not going to be another Rainbow Six Siege. There's not going to be anything like For Honor. All we're going to do is basically make Assassin's Creed, nonstop.
You're going to climb towers.
Yeah,
every
it's
day.
going to be Far Cry and Assassin's Creed, and maybe and that's it. So
Maybe Watch
Rabbids.
Dogs.
yeah. No, no rabbits, no watch.
They will cut the rabbits out.
I think they will give us plenty of rabbits. They will give us more rabbits.
There's going to be Watch Dogs plus
Yeah.
Rabbids.
Yep.
You guys watch.
So I think
Watch rabbits.
I think
Watch
it'll be interesting
rabbits.
to see,
Watch
like,
rabbits.
the redemption type stuff, or like what do people buy Steep? Do people buy the Steep DLC? Do people buy Rabbids? Do people buy the Crew 2? Games that Ubisoft is kind of taking chances with to kind of push away Vivendi. Versus, do people say, oh, you know what, we hate Ubi because they're grabbing it every dime they can, which is true.
Yep.
But they're one of those companies that if they don't do this, they can very easily end up being something totally different that they probably don't want to be, which is a hostile takeover by Vivendi. So, I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see those kind of games. And the Crew 2 looked pretty good, but it was surprising to me that it was even announced at all. But I guess I that to me gave a little credence to that internet rumor.
Well, here's the thing. If they can do with that what they did with Watch Dogs 2, because that was definitely an apology after Watch Dogs 1.
Yeah.
Because Watch Dogs 2
fucking
was
Assassin's
phenomenal.
Creed 2 versus Assassin's Creed 1.
Yeah.
Their sequels tend to fix up shitty
Yeah.
games.
And the Crew
But,
was a decent
you-
racing game, but
but
what
you
they
did-
showed was like planes and boats and monster trucks and motorcycles. I mean, like they obviously are going bigger.
Did you see the details of
Yeah.
of the gameplay? Like you can transform into like a plane at any time and
Yeah,
into
and
a boat at any time. It looks cool.
I think it's a really cool idea to have like I guess like asynchronous races. So like a
Yeah.
boat versus a plane, or like a motorcycle versus a plane, or
Yeah, and then like you hit a ramp and you transform into a plane and
Yeah.
then you fly for a while. Cool.
Wait, so is this fucking just like Sonic Racing transformed?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's just like, so I think they made Steep because they're like, hey, people really like these kind of games. Here's just, go crazy on a mountain in a game. I feel like the Crew 2 is kind of like, hey, people like racing games, go crazy racing. You know what I mean? Like, whatever you want to do, just go do it. So it'll be interesting to see, I think. But that was the one I wanted to mention that I thought, it was actually a surprise of the show to me because I didn't think the Crew sold at all well. But yeah.
Yeah, and it was not well reviewed when it
No.
came out. So
I got that
we'll
game
see if
for
they
free
can
and I
revive
felt
the
like I
IP.
got
Then good
ripped
for
off.
them. Pardon me?
I got that game for free and I felt like I got ripped off.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was not a well-received game at all. Let's move on to Sony. Sony.
Is there anything?
Okay,
wait,
first,
anything good?
Stream sucked.
Stream, it was horrible.
Really, that I was watching all those streams, and that is the only one I had any fucking issues with. Like, it just kept stuttering. I think the YouTube one was like a minute behind. The sound
Yeah.
kept cutting out.
The Giant Bomb guys, I was watching the Giant Bomb stream and they actually had to like reset the router because they thought something was fucking up with their
Yeah, they did-
router because
Yeah, because I was watching the Giant Bomb one, and they were like, "Oh, something's wrong with our stream."
yeah.
And then I was like, "Okay," so I switched to the actual stream, and the same thing was happening there.
Yeah.
It was the actual Sony stream.
Yeah, something
Um,
was really weird there.
I will actually say this. I watched it way after the fact. Like I watched it the next day, and it was the the actual YouTube video that basically archives the entire stream. Yeah. And there were still glitches in that video because there's moments where it'll just cut out and then cut back in.
Can we talk about too how weird it was? Like, so they would like show the trailer and then they would cut to the crowd and it was dead fucking silent. Yeah. Like
people watching their phones, like, whatever.
You know, it's like, why are you recording this to your phone, number one? This is
Sony
on YouTube in 4K.
It's
like
basically,
tomorrow.
It's basically like sitting in a movie theater watching the trailers or watching that thing that happens before the trailers where they show you all these commercials and shit. So,
I mean, we can't talk since we watched all of these.
But what I'm saying is, like, if I was sitting there, I wouldn't have my cell phone out. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. But that stage thing was so unnecessary.
Like, if I fucking was in charge of the Sony stream, I would stop cutting to the crowd.
Yeah,
They clearly don't give a shit, man. Stop showing us that.
I especially hated it that in the middle of the trailer, they would do an overhead shot. Yeah. And I'm like, just show me the fucking game.
And then, but they always do that.
I hate that, though.
They had these weird stingers, like at the end of a trailer. They'd have a stinger at the end of a trailer. Like, come on, guys. Like, stick that in the trailer. It's a
like the Monster Hunter one was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah. So the stage show and the technical issues were horrible. Boring presentation. Boring. I mean, just a bad everything on as far
that
as
Monster Hunter though looks pretty good.
Yeah. Finally, a Monster Hunter on a console.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like I want to play it.
But are you saying you were not looking forward to hooking up your headphone to your phone through an adapter to hook up to your Switch to be able to talk to people while you played Monster Hunter on the Switch?
Thank you, Ben. Yeah. That was exactly what I was going to bring up because that makes absolute insanity.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Nintendo?
Yeah, you can say that about whatever.
I'm going to talk about this right now because we're already here. What the fuck?
Our First slogan. What the fuck?
Nintendo does something right, which is we're going to make our internet plan half price compared to everybody else because it's $19.99 a year. We're going to give you access to the classic Nintendo library. That's great. But we're going to fuck up all the other stuff that you usually get out of everybody else's stuff because we're Nintendo.
I hope you have a fucking mobile phone, otherwise you don't get an online plan.
Yeah. You have to use an app on your cell phone to be able to set up your friends. You have to use an app on your cell phone in order to talk to your friends. That makes fuck all of any type of sense. And all that's going to happen is those people are going to just use Discord. That's all that's going to happen. They're just making people use Discord.
Well, yeah, but
which I'm cool with, by the way.
Well, yeah, but you know what,
who wants to talk to strangers?
You know what? How Nintendo will reply? We don't give a shit. You'll still use our applications, games, whatever.
That's
Fuck
the only
you.
way you can play Mario.
Someone pointed out though, with that fucking
motherfucker, you want to play Mario? Yes, and fuck off.
We don't make multiplayer online games anyway. Fuck you.
Exactly. What's your problem?
Except for Splatoon.
Smash Brothers,
Mario?
Splatoon's not an online game to them.
Trying to push
online games.
Splatoon. They made Splatoon and they don't even know how they made Splatoon. They were like, what the fuck did we make? What is it? This isn't Mario.
All right, so let's get back to the Sony conference then.
Yeah. All right. So
just real quick on the Sony, I want to talk about the games real quick too, because as bad as everything was, I don't know if there was any games that blew me away.
God of War was boring. I thought God of War was.
Days Gone looks like the most boring. I don't know if there's we could have a more boring God of War or Days Gone.
Talk about Days Gone for a second. Days Gone looked shit.
Yeah.
And then worst case of then they showed a bunch of stuff afterwards, and it actually looks really cool.
I didn't saw it afterwards.
About Days Gone, that's an open world game. I thought that I didn't realize that from any of the E3 conferences.
Yeah, it's just every time they show it, it just looks like I get the idea of zombies as almost as a weapon, but they've showed that 3 E3s in a row now. I mean, like, there's just something about that game where it's just not clicking. Like, it doesn't.
2 E3s. It was announced last
Oh,
year.
well, last year they had that barn thing. Remember they had the barn?
Yeah. Each time they show it, they're like, "Hey, look, zombies! That's their big thing." And you're like, "Yeah, no
that's
shit.
everybody's big thing."
Yeah, no shit. We've been seeing zombies
They're
for
not the zombies.
15
They're
years."
freakers. Remember, get it right. They're definitely not zombies.
But
Oh yeah, totally different.
Everything about it just. I
Sony's
don't
like,
know.
"Hey, remember
See,
zombies?"
the problem with Days Gone is that
Fuck, remember Left 4 Dead? That was a cool game.
see, you know what the problem with Days Gone is? It looks like generic video game paste.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like you took zombies and open world games with crafting and third person action. Like, that is when people think of a modern video game. That's what people think of.
Yeah.
You just stuck all those elements together and made a game.
Next trailer, climb this tower. Guess what?
Yeah.
No, you know what I reckon the worst thing about Days Gone is that it looks like a sequel to Right to Hell Retribution, which is
You know,
I actually own that game.
the thing
I
about
should play it at some point.
like you're getting back to like it looks generic to me. This happens in lots of games, so it's not just a Days Gone thing. But like, you know, there's that in the trailer where like he basically pulls a giant fucking bear trap just out of his ass, like literally like out of his ass.
Yeah.
Like, he like reaches his hand back and he just comes up with a giant bear trap.
No,
while he
man,
puts it
it's
down.
all in the fiction. He has a magic pocket dimension where
he has that hammer space pocket.
Yeah,
but
See, it's just like in Sleeping Dogs when Wei Shen, you would like shit out helmets.
and the
It was
only
pretty
thing
great.
that he keeps there are bear traps, nothing else.
But then he throws the rock, and the guy's like, "Huh? What's that? I'm gonna wander over there. Oh my god, they're in a bear trap." Then he runs.
I'm gonna walk into this bear trap because I didn't see it.
But it's like that's like fresh video gaming from 2007. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, I heard a noise. I'm gonna go wander over there. Oh no, I'm trapped. And
Yeah,
like,
it looks kind of like
That's the thing, they
leaving
were
traps
showing
in Arkham
bunch of
Asylum or something.
Like they were showing a bunch of stuff.
Ben, go ahead.
They were showing a bunch of stuff in like the afterward stuff that actually does look like they're doing cool new things. Like it has a dynamic weather system, and the weather system affects how much sound travels. So like if you're playing in the rain, then you can use guns more because it won't alert the zombie hordes. Whereas if you're playing in like plain day, a gunshot is really loud and will alert all the zombie hordes everywhere. And like based on the weather, like a dude will get stuck in a trap and start screaming, and his friends will just kill him because he'll just alert the zombie horde and shit. Like, there's a bunch of cool stuff like that they didn't show any of. They showed
they
that shit.
They
just showed the thing where the guy opens up the gate and then the zombies come in and eats everybody.
Boring shit.
They need to show off more actual gameplay and less just like highlight reels.
I think that's the same thing I thought a year ago. They were just trying to make a Walking Dead game. Basically.
Exactly. And that's Daryl. It's not
Daryl,
but it's Daryl.
It's basically Daryl.
So I mean, that was.
God, you're totally right. It is just Daryl, isn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't even make that connection. That's just fucking Daryl.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that Shadow of Colossus was a remake, that was disappointing. And that Spider game, guys, it looks cool.
That's Batman.
But
it's
Batman, right?
Well, hold on. I've heard this several times, and it's not Spider-Man's fault that Batman has been stealing his shit. Okay, because if you played any of like the older Spider-Man games, like even going back to the PlayStation 1, a lot of the shit Batman did that in like the Arkham games, Spider-Man got there first.
Yeah, but Batman took what was best about those games and made a cool game, and not a broken bad game.
Here's the thing. You never played Spider-Man 2 or Ultimate Spider-Man.
Because
those are good.
And you know what was good about those games? Swinging in the city, like swinging from skyscraper.
Yeah, and Batman stole that too.
Yeah, but it wasn't as prominent in Batman. That was the best thing.
The worst thing about that Spider-Man game though wasn't the Arkham Asylum ripoff stuff. It's how many QuickTime events were in there.
I know.
Yeah, that
More
was.
Spider-Man than they were in God of War.
And then they were saying they're non-fail quick times. Well, then why have them in there? You know what I mean? Like
they should have a fail.
Very YouTube video of like Spider-Man eating shit on the floor when he fails at QuickTime events from.
Ew. Is that
I'm excited about
or
Spider-Man.
something?
I'm like, again, I think even if Spider-Man did some of these things before, what the version of Spider-Man they showed off here looked almost exactly like an Arkham Predator encounter. And like, I don't know if that fits the tone of Spider-Man that well. Like, you think Spider-Man's kind of like the semi-cocky, snarky kind of goofball who quips while he beats up his enemies, and that doesn't really fit the whole Predator.
Well, yeah, actually
Predator
he
idea.
does. In the comics, he does stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
that actually does fit.
That's how Spider-Man is very much in the comics.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man's just Batman, but better.
Yeah.
But
So he makes quips and he goes and jokes and stuff like that. But he does stealth stuff. He does.
Like, I'm not saying he can't do stealth. I'm just saying, like, I wanted to see both sides of that in the trailer. I want to see the quippy Spider-Man too. I don't just want to see Spider-Bat.
Well, I mean, he did
both.
do that in the middle of the trailer or in the gameplay
Helicopter
thing
chase.
that they showed.
right.
So they did show the quips and stuff like that too.
Yeah, what if the quick time events are quip time events? Like
Quip time.
if you
So
do
you
the
have to make a
quick,
joke.
you do the quick
Like,
time, right? And he does a quip.
Like, change
And
the
Goomba.
quick time events into like insult sword
yeah,
fighting from
yeah.
Monkey
How about
Island.
quick time, right?
And how about we have a live Twitch stream and people earn points and then
Yeah, and you can win things
spend
by
points.
playing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I
They
don't
also
know.
showed off. They also.
I think it's called
Spider-Man
Quiplash.
or-
Yeah, I don't know what to think of it, honestly. Like, I walked away like, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be for an exclusive. It just, I don't know. That if that was a highlight trailer for gameplay, I didn't walk away super impressed.
I'm down
Reminds me a
100%.
lot of, did anyone play the Amazing Spider-Man games?
No.
Like, it looked very similar to that. Like,
Yeah.
And those are good, but I was hoping this Spider-Man game wouldn't be the same open world.
Were those ones that were made by Beanox?
Yeah, it's made by Beanox.
Yeah,
okay.
I was hoping it wouldn't be the same because we've had like open world adventure Spider-Man games has been since Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. Like
Yeah.
that's all we've. I was hoping this would be something different, and it looks like more Spider-Man, which
Yeah.
like cool.
Yeah,
I
but,
hope
like,
you deliver pizza. I hope there's a side quest where you deliver pizza.
And Insomniac knows what they're doing. I mean, I know they'll pull it together and it'll be fun. But I mean, I don't know. I was just kind of.
I do want to do one thing though. Can we talk a little bit about the God of Us for just 1 second?
What now?
God of War?
Yeah, the God of Us or Dad
Oh
of
yeah. Okay. There you go. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
Oh,
That
you were
is
making a
hilarious.
funny.
I had to think about it.
That took me way too long to understand.
God of War
but-
looks like
yeah.
exactly what I expected, and I'm gonna buy it day one.
Yep. I will say this.
No.
I am tired of the original God of War
Yeah,
formula because
definitely.
I've had all three of them,
Yeah.
and I got tired of it by the time I got halfway through the first one.
Yeah.
So
Fucking
I
I
get.
did 6 of them.
I
You
was
bought too
very.
many.
Yeah, I was very impressed with the second one because it was really impressive on PS2 how big of a scale it was. You
Yeah.
know, like it was
But
it was enormous. But it was
but
boring.
it's-
The character was boring and
Yeah.
and was
It is excessively formulaic,
Kratos
but
and it was very
like,
teenagerish.
Oh, it
I
was.
actively like God of War, yet I buy every single one of them and finish them. Like,
Yeah,
But
they are impressive looking and they're spectacles. You know.
they're just
But-
spectacle, and they're
Yeah.
impressive as
Yeah.
fuck spectacles,
Yes.
but they're not games.
right.
Yeah,
but I like
Kratos is
I-
the worst character of all time. I fucking hate that guy.
I don't know. I'd probably put Geralt up there too, but. we're
But
gonna have to
I
argue.
think-
Geralt is
No, the
at
worst
least
character of all
two
time is
dimensional.
fucking Aiden Pierce from Watch Dogs. Let's be real.
But I
But
think
th-
that
those people are at least two-dimensional. There's nothing two-dimensional even about Kratos. He's
Yeah.
one-dimensional. He has only
He's just
anger and
rage.
daddy issues.
But you know
But
what makes me? What I feel like God of War is such a waste opportunity. I think a God of War style game in the Norse worlds could be so cool, right? But you,
I wanted God of War, but like Assassin's Creed style, just completely change the protagonist setting, everything. Like, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with, but it keeps the same gameplay, like styles and themes and everything, with a completely new story, completely new characters and everything. But no, we got fucking
Kratos, yeah.
But-
the world
Here-
apocalypse.
here's the thing though. The thing I love about this is the dynamic. It's the fact that you have Kratos, and we know he's an asshole. He's always been an asshole. He is the asshole king of assholes. And now he actually has to learn to either teach his kid to be an even bigger asshole or he dies. So we now have a dynamic.
Yeah.
I wonder if like,
just fucking kill the kid.
Yeah, I have an idea.
Clementine will remember that, like in God of War. Teach your kid his pastime.
Yeah.
He will remember.
Yeah, press circle to pat your kid on the back, and then you fail that quick time event, and you're like, fuck, god damn it, I'm a bad father.
And then your kid just turns to a monster and kills you.
But like the things I've seen from like the trailers and from the gameplay with how he has to interact with his son, that's something that you don't get from the God of War series. You've never got that. It's always been Kratos runs into one of the gods or one of the demigods, and it's you're in my way. I'm going to take your arm off and beat you with it.
Like there was you beat the final boss in one of the I think Chains of Olympus on the PSP by hugging your daughter. Like that's the end of that game.
But that's one. That's one out of all 6 games.
Compared to like the eye stabs and the I mean
the head ripping and the body burning.
There is a lot of that, but like God of War 3, the end of that game is in Kratos' mind as he realizes that he's a horrible person and accepts his fate. Like, you have to spend most of that game protecting this little girl, Pandora, and then are, like, struggling to save her when you find out she needs to die for the plot to go on. Like, there has been that shit kind of, like, in the God of War games. It's just...
But
this is the first time they've ever, like, turned it into a mechanic.
Yeah, it's never... It's usually, like, a small element amidst all the violence, whereas in this one, it's part of, like, Kratos' growth throughout the entire story, which is what makes it interesting to me.
If I was to pitch to you, okay, I've got an idea for a new IP. It's basically Last of Us, but it takes place in ancient Norse lands, full of the mythology, and you've got to you're a Viking war, and you got to challenge all these gods and get your kids through there. Would you be more excited about that now that it doesn't have Kratos?
Yeah, it wouldn't matter to me whether it's Kratos or not.
I just feel like he's a drag on it. I don't know why. Like, I think of him, and I think about that. Press X to satisfy these women. Like it's just. Oh yeah. There's just something about him. Like,
and there was that extended sequence in God of War 3 when you guided this half-naked lady and then you killed her, and it all felt very smart.
Now think about.
I have an idea for a God of War game.
Think about it like this.
God of War minus Kratos. Like Garfield minus Garfield. No God of War.
Think of it just
God
like
of War without the sexualized violence?
God of War with...
I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
Look, I would say think of it like this. Imagine if when you went to high school, everybody knows the biggest asshole kid that basically either was the massive drunk or he was just the bully or whatever. And you know this kid, he's not going anywhere. You expect him to probably be dead by the time he's 23. Yeah. And then at some point, this kid actually has a kid and eventually decides to grow up.
And he kills him.
and
he just kills the kid.
Maybe he doesn't kill the kid. Maybe he actually figures shit out. Sometimes that happens. I've seen it happen myself. Well, not me, but with some other friends I've had where they used to be actually crazy insane and then they had kids and it leveled them out. Sometimes that shit happens.
That could be an interesting story, but here's my pitch for a good God of War game. God of War, but good. Think about that.
See, like,
well,
I think that
we don't know if that will be good.
That's a compelling argument,
like,
Science.
That could be a cool thing. The only thing is,
I
like I said, I've played 6 God of War games. I don't trust them to tell that story. Like, those guys aren't good at telling stories.
I don't know.
Hey,
I don't know.
There hasn't been a new God of War game in years.
Also, they never gave them the chance to tell any stories.
Yeah, it was all hack and slash anyway.
Yeah, and these games were always like, "Oh, Kratos is just pissed," and
this seems like it's slowing down the pace quite a bit. So they showed off a bunch of other stuff at the Sony conference. It was mainly stuff that had already been announced. Yep. So they showed off more of Uncharted, which is looking pretty good. The new Uncharted game, Lost Legacy, which is starring 2 women, Nadine and Chloe. They showed off...
oh, you mean Tomb Raider?
More of Call of Duty. Sorry?
I said, oh, you mean Tomb Raider?
Yeah, it's basically Tomb Raider, but I'm cool with it. They showed off Detroit again, which is looking okay. But I think what's the interesting thing about Sony is that it's more not what they showed, but what they didn't show.
Before we go into what they didn't show,
I don't know about you guys, but...
Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which, like, not that big a deal, but it completely confirmed all the leaks about that game, which has killed all my interest in that game. Because that leaked cast list looks shit, and it's just a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 list again. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
How did they not
they
show
didn't
Last of
do
Us 2,
new
though?
designs for them or anything. Like, Dante is in his Devil May Cry 3 outfit again. Chris is in his Resident Evil 5 outfit again. Fucking the dude from Bionic Commando is the shitty sausage arm dead wife one. Like, at least if they'd done different designs for the characters, I would.
Oh, they did. They did do a different design. It was Chun-Li's face.
Oh Jesus, that Chun-Li's face haunts me in my dreams. Not in a
that
good
did not
way.
look good.
That's why I bought the PC version so somebody can mod that out.
Yeah. Please replace.
So, I mean, like getting back to the point that Sony relegated a lot of stuff to pre and post shows. So I don't know what you guys think, but Sony both last year and this year seems to have this weird idea that they have to pretend that they're not a Japanese company.
Yeah.
Like,
Do you think that they kind of read into like the Ridge Racer and Massive Damage memes in like the wrong way? Like people were making fun of them because they were Japanese and not just like weirdly excited about the dumbest thing. I mean, like,
seriously think that
like it's not.
They were idiots.
no, I can't.
Like, here's the thing, like,
it's more like a Western thing than it is.
But that's
like
the
a
thing,
Japanese
like.
thing.
But yeah, they're Japanese franchises, like say Ni no Kuni, Yakuza. These aren't like super niche franchises.
Yeah, but they don't
I
do
don't
well
know.
here at all.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like they're gonna show off like
kind of
Danganronpa or Senran Kagura, right?
What?
Like especially not Senran
But
Kagura
here's
at E3. That would
But
cause
here's the
a
thing:
stir.
when Ni no Kuni came out here, and a lot of people just were not feeling it. I've heard a lot of complaints about that game. And Yakuza is niche,
no, that's fair.
niche as hell.
I played
So-
Ni no Kuni, and it's maybe the most beautiful, most boring game I've ever touched in my life. It is deathly fucking dull. I just don't know how else to describe it. It's maybe the most boring game I've ever played, and I still stuck with it because it was pretty. But I mean, I can do that for a 20-hour game, but I'm like 75 hours in. I'm like, no, I can't listen to this.
No, I get that. I mean, my point is not about the quality of the games. My point is, like, Sony seems reluctant to show off weird stuff at their conferences.
and-
like even more so than Microsoft.
Well,
I don't know
Microsoft did that because they have the absolute worst relationship with Japan, and it has always been like that since the 360.
Yeah.
Right. No, that I completely
So they
agree.
had
But
to show
Microsoft's
that.
still showing off quirky, weird games. Like Sony showed Microsoft showed off like at least 2 games from the East. They showed off that Black Desert Online, which is Korean. They showed off Code Vein, which is Capcom's new
Dragon Ball FighterZ.
anime vampire game.
Merv, I have
Code Vein
no
looks
idea
terrible,
what you're talking
but they
about.
showed it off.
Sony showed up Shadow of the Colossus that looked pretty quirky and weird.
But that was quirky and
Yeah,
weird
but
from like
that's a game
2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think you're right, Merv. I mean, I think if Ashen was at Sony's, it would have been their weirdest game, and that was just like one of, or like any of those other little indie things that Microsoft had. Any of them would have been, out there for Sony's presentation. They played it really safe, really AAA. Well, I guess what they're passing is AAA because there's no way that Days Gone is going to end up being.
I think they
AAA.
had to make up for Life of Black Tiger or whatever that game was last time.
Yeah. They do have weird, quirky games, but yeah, you're right. It seems like they were kind of trying to dodge it this show and just
Honestly,
get the big stuff
The only
out.
thing from the entire show that was a surprise at all to me was Monster Hunter. Like,
I mean, I always assumed that would be coming out eventually. I didn't know which.
Well, I
console.
didn't think it was going to
Yeah,
come
but
out.
the fact
for
that it's on
consoles.
a PlayStation console.
on
Yeah.
PlayStation, like a next-gen proper Monster
It's actually-
Hunter on...
Also,
PlayStation
weird thing,
20,
that
see?
Monster Hunter game looks less Japanese than any other Monster Hunter
Yeah,
game.
you're right. But
You
that
look-
Monster Hunter game is going to be on everything. It's
Yeah.
on the
PC.
Xbox, PS4, and PC.
Did you guys
I don't
ever play
think it's
Dragon's Dogma?
Kind of funny.
I played a
No,
little
I
bit.
haven't
of
played Dragon's Dogma.
It looked very much like a Dragon's Dogma, like a kind of a weird sync between like Japanese style animation but Western style environments and atmosphere.
So what you're saying is it's deep down?
Yeah.
There you go.
That game's never
Pretty
coming.
much.
There
Yeah,
you
it's called Monster.
Like, did they announce that back in 2013?
Yeah,
that game-
was
What the hell is
PlayStation
happening?
4 announcement conference.
You remember
Yeah, that game's coming out. It's called Monster Hunter.
Yeah,
did.
it's going to be on PC.
I remember when deep down, like they were like, "Oh yeah, it's multiplayer," and like that was the last anybody heard of it. That was a long time ago too.
Yeah, apparently they're reworking it. Apparently it hasn't been canceled.
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah.
though, like actually set in the modern day, and you go back in time through like virtual reality or some shit.
Yeah, that game was announced forever ago, man. How long ago was that announced?
So it's like
It was-
Assassin's
it
Creed,
was a
but
good, like, 4
Capcom.
Nah, that game was announced before they PS4.
It was announced back in 2013.
Yeah,
Jeez,
that was
PS4.
when it was
First
announced.
announcement was the PlayStation 4 announcement, like conference.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah.
shown there.
Yeah, it ain't coming out.
Yeah, we're pretty much what's gonna happen is we're gonna get Frog Fractions 3 and find out Deep Down is in it.
Technically, Frog Fractions 2 was called Frog Fractions 3, so we already
Frog
got
Fractions 2 is called Frog Fractions 3.
What's it? Glitter?
Oh
I'm
no,
not making
we're
this
in a
up.
temporal
Down.
frog fractions loop.
I'm not even making this up. If you look at the credits, when you beat Frog Fractions 2, it refers to itself as Frog Fractions
That's
3.
excellent. That is exactly what I want.
Anyway, so let's move on to Nintendo,
Oh, thank God.
which was it's a pretty interesting conference. They showed off a bunch of stuff.
I completely
Super Mario
spaced on this one
Odyssey.
and thought it was 10 p.m., not 10 a. Or like I got the times wrong and slept through it. This is the only
How
way.
do you watch
Okay.
them live? There's nothing to watching
Especially
them live.
Nintendo's was like literally a YouTube video that they just
Yeah.
showed.
They just pressed play.
Yeah, so you can watch it online now. So it's like just a half-hour event where they showed off.
Fucking afterwards.
Yeah, they showed off Super Mario Odyssey,
Yeah.
Kirby, Yoshi, Rocket League's coming to the Switch.
Yep.
Then they showed off Fire Emblem Warriors, Xenoblade 2. The big announcement, though, the two big announcements for which they didn't have any gameplay, were there is a new Pokemon RPG coming to the
About
Switch,
damn time.
and Metroid Prime 4 is also coming to
Yeah.
the Switch.
We haven't
Like,
had a.
it would mean way more to me if there was more than a fucking logo, but like, as Metroid Prime 4 is literally just a logo, I don't give a shit at the moment.
Yeah, me neither. You know what looked more interesting? The fucking Metroid on 3DS that they didn't show in that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, how did that
what
not
the
get shown?
fuck is your problem with Metroid, Nintendo?
Everything.
You hate
I mean, they showed it off
you hate
immediately after.
that in Nintendo?
That
God.
Metroid Prime
To be fair,
that looks
they showed immediately after that stream ended.
Yeah.
So if you continued watching, it was the first thing they showed.
Yeah,
in
I
the Treehouse
guess,
stream.
but it was not part of the main event, which was really weird. I don't know if they're like,
I mean, the main event was just the Switch.
yeah, I
pretty
think
much.
they're just like kind of ashamed of 3DS right now because
It's old.
yeah, it's old and it's like, of course, the Switch is supposed to take over the mobile
Yeah,
market.
so we can finally get a Pokemon game on a good console.
Yeah.
Like, the main thing I thought watching that not Metroid Prime, the Metroid, what's it called, Samus Returns or whatever,
Yeah.
is, fuck, I can't wait for the Switch port of this.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I can
Nintendo.
dream.
Nintendo is honestly, it's the most frustrating video game company to me. Like,
Yes, it is.
I'm so glad that I had a clean break with Nintendo after the Wii. I was like, nope, I'm done with it. I'm not getting the Wii U. I'm not getting a Switch. Like, I had a clean break with them. And just whenever I hear people talk about them, it's like someone like talking about like an abusive, like, like relationship. They're like, man, you don't understand.
But they have Mario.
They love me. What
It's like
we
Nintendo
have
does
is
all this
special.
stupid, horrible shit, and you're like, God, Nintendo sounds like a fucking asshole. And you're like, yeah, but Mario. And you're like, yeah, okay, I kind of get it, but I mean, at some
Can we
point, it's
talk
fucking
about Mario
unhealthy.
Odyssey for a second? So, like, okay, it looks cool and everything. That hat's terrifying, and he possesses real people with it. And what happens to them? Like,
They go away.
he possesses a random
They
dude
just-
on the street. Is that
Yeah,
good?
just the feedbacks, too.
Ninjaneer is right. They just go
So
away.
the lore of it is apparently they possess that person, and once the hat is done possessing that person is sort of knocked out and dizzy for a while, and then they're teleported back to where they were. at.
They,
Hey,
Mario,
like,
Mario,
Mario make that person do Mario was possessing Goombas and making the Goombas kill their Goomba friends.
that's
And
fucking
then they wake up and they're
insane.
like, you asshole, Steve, you killed like 11 of your friends.
What?
That wasn't me! That was Mario!
Mario wasn't even around.
Exactly, Steve, you
Mario
ain't
is
getting away with
perfect,
this
just
one.
known.
Electric chair for you, Steve.
Oh,
It's
it's
like
like in the lava pit.
It's probably better if he killed him. I mean, let's be honest, like.
The Italian. It's a me, he said.
So I mean, on the whole, like for Nintendo, like Super Mario Odyssey looked really neat. I think this was a pretty strong showing.
Yeah.
It was stronger than I expected them to
It
have.
showed a lot more than they did the last time, where all they showed was him throwing the hat and jumping on
No,
it.
but ending the conference with the fact that Mario is possessing things was really strong.
It's yes, but it's
But
hilarious.
horrifying. I saw it and was like horrified.
I was like,
Mario
I think it's amazing. It's like
Mario's this godlike creature that
yes, he is. He's the god of the
Oh,
mushroom
Mario's
kingdom.
like
you are living in this town and you just hear this echo, "It's a me," and you're like, "Oh shit! I gotta get out of here!"
Question is, have you
Like-
ever played as Mario, or has every game just been you as the hat?
Oh my god! The hat is actually possessing Mario.
again, the lore is that a ghost possessed this hat at the start of this game.
Mario was
So
friend
actually
was
he's walking around with a boo.
Mario was actually a
According
normal
to-
slump.
According to Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario and Metal Gear Solid are in the same universe. So was it fucking not Otacon? Was it the dude's arm possessing him, or was it actually
Liquid
It
Mario.
was Liquid Snake
Liquid
or
Mario.
Revolver Ocelot.
Oh,
You're
man, you
not
guys.
me, Devolver Ocelot, brother.
Oh god, you guys. Yeah. So they showed off Super Mario Odyssey, which looked pretty neat. They showed off more of Mario plus Rabbids. Then some of the other stuff they showed off some of it looked neat. Some of it I don't know what to think of. Like the thing that's was it Science or Ben? One of you mentioned earlier that there are a lot of things that didn't look so great in trailers, but looked really good when they actually demonstrated gameplay. I think that's very true of both Yoshi and Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 trailer? Because that is the worst voice
Yeah,
acting I've
that
ever
looked like
seen.
that looked like.
Oh god, that
God,
I didn't
that's
even
like,
watch
like
it.
oftentimes what happens is they cut they get like just a few lines recorded for trailers really far in advance, and they don't like take care to make them sound good, and they often re-record lines later for the actual game.
I certainly hope that's the case, because I was just watching that in shock how bad that voice acting was.
Wasn't there that weird voice acting strike for a little bit or something? Like maybe that's what.
Oh no, that's still going on.
I mean that might be part of what kind of happened. Maybe they couldn't find a good, or they had somebody in mind for it and they wouldn't do it.
To my knowledge,
Coming back
Nintendo's
to
not
that
one of the
Life
struck
is Strange
companies.
on.
Pardon me?
That's
what did happen to Life is Strange.
She's on strike. Ashley Birch, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ashley Birch's
whatever.
on strike, so she
Ashley
can't
Birch
voice
should-
act in that
should
game.
Thank God every day that she even has the career she does. Don't get me started on her.
Ooh, hot takes. Another one.
That is a hot take.
Yes.
No, what I will say about I don't think Nintendo or Monolith Soft are on the list of struck companies, so I don't think they'd actually be affected by the voice
Now
actor
that
strike, but I might be
is-
mistaken.
I've actually looked into this a fair bit. They're not on the list of companies that they're boycotting, but they do all their voice acting through subsidiaries. And because if you look at the list of the companies that are actually on it, there's like a whole bunch of them are companies you've never heard of, and then you look at those companies, and they're the people that handle all the voice acting for 100 different game companies.
Yeah, so I don't know if Nintendo's I don't know if that actually
Yeah.
results in Nintendo
Can I
being
come
struck.
back to Xenoblade for a second?
Yeah.
It felt completely different than any other Xenoblade game before it. It felt like more for kids, weirdly, and even the characters' outfits looked like more like Kingdom Hearts outfits than
Oh yay.
it was.
Yeah, they've
weird.
really changed the art
Yeah.
style and not for the better. But once they demonstrated the gameplay, it looked a lot like, the kind of big, large scale open world RPG that people were expecting.
Yeah.
So again, this is the case of cutting a trailer. It doesn't really show off the game's strengths. Yoshi had the same problem too, where it was really confusing what the actual mechanics were from the trailer. But once they showed it off at their Treehouse stream, it all sort of
there's
made
a lot
sense.
of, there's a lot of Nintendo games that don't make sense until you see them actually being played. Was that Kirby's Yarn? That was another good one that really didn't show well.
Yeah, Kirby's Epic
Yeah.
Yarn.
No, I think
I
I
gotta say,
understood
Kirby's
what
Yarn
Yoshi was
boring.
about. Oh yeah.
Yoshi's looked a lot like Kirby's Epic Yarn in that it looks charming and cute, and the graphics looked amazing, and it looks boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yoshi always was kind of boring for me. I understand there are some people that love those games, and
I really liked the Super Nintendo one, but I got Kirby's Epic
The one
Yarn.
with the
and
crying
I got,
baby?
Yeah.
No,
that was awesome.
oh God, no way! You reminded me about everything that was bad about that game. Fuck that game.
I mean, I think I think they can make it an interesting game as long as they actually add a little bit more challenge than what was shown off.
Yeah, it looks like Super Baby Mode 3D.
Yeah,
and they really like if they add some with the mechanic they have, they can make a lot of interesting puzzles, and I hope they do take advantage.
And they also need to add a screaming Mario, like every 10 seconds. Like that would be the game.
Fuck!
It's a Nintendo
it is constantly.
Yeah.
So I think we've gone over all the conferences.
Yes, we have.
We
did it.
Let's just ask because I'm curious. What were your guys' highlights of the conference? Like of stuff from like including the pressers, but also including stuff that was shown on the show floor and live streams once the actual conference started, and not just the pre-conference pressers.
I have four, most of that we've already talked about, but one that we didn't. So my highlights were Anthem, Madden, Assassin's Creed, and Shadows of Mordor, which I know is coming up really soon release. But every time I see that game, it feels like that first game was just like a rough draft, and like they've figured out that game really, really well. That Siege battle they showed looked awesome. Cannot wait to play that game, and it's not going to be too long. So that was one that I think that people forget because it's coming out so soon, but that looked really good.
I had a big list.
Ben, go ahead.
Really quickly go through some of like my list. Fortnite got shown. I'm shocked that game still exists. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, new trailer. That game looks fucking amazing. Undertale announced for PS4 Vita. Vita got mentioned at E3, which shocked me.
It kind of didn't because it was before the conference.
It counts in my heart.
Yeah, like
also finally get to play Undertale, so yay on that. Capybara Games were actually there showing OKKO, which I'm like, where the fuck is below? The Metro Samus Return we talked about. The Vampire looks way better than I thought it was going to be. Kingdom Come Deliverance seems to be shaping up really well. They showed a new boss in Sundred, which is like...
Let's just go back to Vampire for a second.
Sorry.
The first time they showed off that game, it looked janky as hell.
Yeah, it really did.
And they've cleaned it up a lot, and now it actually looks kind of entertaining. Don't Know It always has these interesting concepts, but they don't always execute on the gameplay, like with Remember Me. So I'm intrigued to see what this turns out to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So
go ahead.
Kingdom Come Deliverance is like it was a Kickstarter game from ages ago. Like this open world first person like medieval game looks really good. They showed off a new boss in Sundred, which is like a procedurally generated Metroidvania. Looks really cool. Did anyone watch the trailer for A Plague Tale: Innocence?
No.
It's,
No, sorry.
fucking. It was just like a cinematic trailer, but it looks like it's like an RPG in a world where there's like the millions and millions of like plague rats, and you have to have like a lantern to like scare the rats off and walk around. It looked really cool. Sort of ditto one of the Devolver games that they didn't show. Like it's a top-down co-op fucking Zelda like game with this really cute cartoony art style that looked really good. Also, they showed off new Xbox avatars. Did anyone fucking see that?
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, I saw pictures, and they look basically like me.
No, they kind of look like Pixar.
Yeah, Pixar or anime or something like that. Yeah, it's very.
Yeah, they look really good, but also what?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
Are they actually going to?
I think Xbox is just trying to
Xbox avatar
give off sort of a. Yeah, I was gonna say Xbox seems like they're trying to give off a more friendly image now.
I guess so.
Compared to what they had before. So,
Yeah, you heard about how they got upset that that Sony said they won't do cross-play with them because they want to protect their younger customers.
Such a crock of shit. Get out of here.
Like the fact that Nintendo are okay with it and Sony is saying is like what the fuck.
Wait, hold on. Nintendo has crossplay?
Yeah,
with anybody?
Switch and Xbox.
There was a fucking shown in the Minecraft trailer at the Xbox conference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Rocket League, I think.
Rocket
League crossplay with Xbox?
Yeah. Well, Rocket League is crossplay right now with everything except for Sony for some reason because their real reason is they don't want to let people in.
I think PC has crossplay with.
Usually PC has crossplay with PS4.
Yeah, it has. I played with people from PS4.
Xbox One, all the Play Anywhere games are all crossplay because Killer Instinct and all that shit crossplay.
Well, I know they didn't do it with Halo because they thought it wouldn't be fair to crossplay between PC, but they did do it with Gears of War because it's a third-person shooter, so not as.
And also Rocket League also doesn't have any kind of like.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah. So, any of you guys have highlights you wanted to mention? I have a few. I thought Super Mario Odyssey looked really cool. The gameplay they showed off looked just as fun and inventive as the first time I played Super Mario 64, so I'm really excited about that.
64, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It looks like finally a sequel to Mario 64. Like, that was, I think, the last Mario game I actually really enjoyed, and we're finally getting another one.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Sunshine was arguably sort of a sequel, but it was much...
Sunshine was bad.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things. I've heard some people who really like it and some people who hate it. Sunshine was very much built on the flood mechanic, and I don't think people liked as much as Nintendo wanted them to. Pardon me?
It's like just not what people wanted for the Mario game. Like, it was a cool mechanic, but like it's I don't want to be cleaning shit in a Mario game. I want to be jumping on shit.
Yeah, it seems like busy work, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wolfenstein 2 looked really cool. Yep. Despite the fact that I'm not totally on board with where they're going with the story, but I'm excited to step back to that world, and I thought the first one was a really good game.
Yeah, it's BJ clone. I'm telling you right now, calling it. Calling it right now. June
Hydra BJ? All right.
Don't clone my BJ. I already told you. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah. Other highlights. We didn't see any gameplay, but I'm sure Ori and the Will of the Wisps will be great, even if they just basically remake the first game with different levels. Yeah. And I'm really intrigued by Tacoma, which I don't know if a lot of people are, but it's made by the Gone Home people, and they made a great first go around of it. So I'm intrigued to see what the second game holds.
I forgot to mention one of my highlights. Did anyone watch the Extinction gameplay?
I haven't even heard of Extinction.
No. It is like basically like Prince of Persia cross Attack on Titan, where you like fight a giant.
Yeah. They show him like fighting a giant orc, and like you actually like cut off its arms and its legs, and it's not like QTEs. It's like you actually fight him, and I think they said it was one-shot kill or something like that.
Yeah, big ones hit you, it's one-shot kill, but like you can take hits from the little like ones that are your sized.
Yeah.
The guys that made Killer Instinct are making it, which those guys know how to do double combat. So no, Iron Galaxy.
Iron
yeah,
Galaxy.
Like the
that means Amazon
of.
No wait,
Dave Lang owns it. Yeah. Dave Lang owns it.
No, he's dead. Didn't you see?
He died in 2015, so he's been there for 2 years.
Here you go. He got sucked into the Lang zone, and
fun stuff. Any other highlights you guys wanted to mention?
I have basically very similar highlights to you. Wolfenstein 2 looked really good. Like the trailer was weird, but weirdly cut, but it was very much like they were having fun with it. It was obvious. And maybe possibly you've heard of this stone cold killer called Mario that's possessing people and then shooting them in the head with his gun.
That's 2 separate games.
Yeah. And both
those games look great.
Both of them look great. Also, A Way Out. I was really surprised at how innovative that looked. Like that looked really cool, and I've never saw a game that did anything interesting with a split screen mechanic in co-op. Like it looked very cool. So those are pretty much my games.
All right.
Ninja, do you have any highlights you want to mention?
You mentioned most of mine, obviously. Wolfenstein, that's on there. Mario looks pretty cool, even though I don't have a Switch.
Yeah, it does.
Monster Hunter, I might actually try one since I have a PS4 and it's actually on a console now. But Dragon Ball Fighters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also,
I'm in. I am so far in.
All the, like stuff about that they've come about afterwards.
Yeah. So
like the ground gets destroyed as you fight more, and like you knock blasts in the background.
If you deflect the blast, you'll see stuff blow up in the background and all that stuff.
It's insane that they are doing this with a fucking Dragon Ball Z game. Yep. Those games were shit for 10 years.
Like they finally made a Dragon Ball Z game that finally plays like a fighter, because the Budokai games didn't. And neither did any of the Xenoverse games. I don't care what anybody says.
And those games always tell the same story and are shit. And now we're getting this fucking awesome thing. insane.
And then the last thing I want to say is fuck David Cage because I won't play Detroit.
Oh my god, we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah,
let's leave it at that. Let's
It looks
not
horrible.
talk about this.
Because
Horrible.
fuck David Cage.
Yeah,
It
let's
looks so
not
bad.
fucking even touch.
I don't know what to think. I haven't seen
Oh,
enough
I
of how
know
that
what
game
to
actually
think.
plays
Oh,
to make a
It
verdict.
doesn't matter.
Otherwise,
You've seen.
I need.
It's fucking.
I played Fahrenheit, and that game was controlled like crap.
Here's the thing.
And
You
also, I died because I ate pills.
Jason,
Here's the thing,
Jason.
you know David Cage by now. So
Yeah.
you don't need to know how the game plays. You know what's going to happen is he's going to give you a good trailer where it looks interesting, and then when you play the game, it's going to be meaningless.
Yeah, I don't even
Yeah,
think
it's
that
almost-
trailer looked
almost like-
interesting.
It's
That
almost
trailer
like
was
Peter Molyneux.
it looked so boring to me. It was so sterile. Like I guess that's
Yeah.
the look they're going for,
Well,
but
I mean, it is Android, so
yeah.
no. But
Favorite
at
thing
the
about that is it means do you guys ever watch the two best friends play Let's Plays of the David Cage games?
yes,
No.
That's the most excited I am for that game
Yep.
because that's the best for a new great Let's Play.
Omicron almost killed them.
Omicron was an amazing game with David Bowie in it. I love that game.
It almost killed them. They
Omicron!
nearly died in the middle of that playthrough.
Fantastic game. Crazy as shit, though.
Yeah. David Cage, not the most.
He should just be a
Not
director.
the most-
That's what I've always thought about David Cage. You just
Yeah,
make
he
movies.
wants
Those
to be a-
movies would be shit.
He wants to make
Yeah.
movies.
He's sucked though.
At
not
least
very
it's only
good.
an hour long.
I will say that David Cage is the worst aspects of Peter Molyneux and Hideo Kojima.
Kojima, definitely. I see that.
Yeah, I see that. I see
Like,
that.
has
At
anyone
least Kojima makes games that are fun
Yeah,
to play.
that's
from
why I
what
said
hear.
the worst aspects.
Yeah,
like has
I
anyone
can understand that.
adaptation? Like with
Pardon
Nicolas, has anyone seen the movie Adaptation with Nicolas
Yes.
Cage and Nicolas Cage?
Yeah.
Like his brother, that's a shitty screenwriter, suggests the twist from the end of Heavy Rain. Like, and then they don't have to joke that this is the dumbest idea ever. And then you play through Heavy Rain, and it's like oh my, no, you're not. Oh no, why are you doing
Yeah.
this?
And it happens in every one of his games every single time, like clockwork.
Yeah. So yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
I guess for me,
So-
if we had to have two negatives, I'm done with survival games, guys. I'm
Yep.
full up on survival games. Don't show me anymore. And I do not care what you two people. I think it's a generational thing, but I do not care what they think about games. I don't want to hear their interviews. I don't want to see them out there. I would much rather have a dev any day of the week, even if he sounds stiff and doesn't exactly sound cool. I don't care. I'd rather have him talk about the game than a
You mean
content creator.
influencers?
Yeah,
You mean
yeah.
content creators?
Ugh.
Fuck that.
Here's the thing. I'll watch their content, but don't bring it to
Yeah.
E3.
Yeah.
I'm not watching E3 to hear what these people think about games, like Kappa said.
No, really, they
I'm-
look like genuinely cool people. I have nothing against those people. I bet they are also were like pumped that they could like go to E3 and do their stuff, but like really, that's not what I want to see on a conference.
Like publishers should be developers should be talking about their games as much as possible.
Yeah.
Show me as much of the games as
'Cause
possible.
you- you've got
like
some.
iJustine commenting on Star Wars Battlefront.
Wait,
Who
Yeah,
cares?
she's only played it for
iJustine
4
still a
hours.
thing?
Oh yeah, she is.
Yeah,
She was
iJustine
all
was
over
one
it.
of the commentators on the Battlefront 2 multiplayer match from the EA
And
conference.
she also famously or infamously on the internet called what's her name, the star of the new one, Luke's daughter from the newest one. God, now I can't.
Daisy Ridley?
Ray.
Ray?
Yeah, I think she calls Ray
Is she
K
Luke's
or
daughter?
something like that. Yeah. Well, I don't know
What?
if she is. I don't. Dude, I'm not even sorry.
What are you talking about?
The internet went crazy because iJustine called Ray K or something like that. Like she's like, "Oh, I really love playing her. She's really K's a really strong hero or something." And people are like, "Oh my God, she doesn't even really watch Star Wars," So there's a lot of that going on. But
Fuck 'em.
yeah,
Anyway, so if I had negatives to list about the conference, is that I don't think they were good enough at showing off gameplay during press conferences, and they relegated too much of that to the show floor, which left a lot of people who tuned into the conferences feeling confused. Like, there are so many games that demoed better once you actually saw the gameplay, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. What other games looked better on the show floor?
Assassin's Creed, Days Gone, Vampire, like so many of those fucking games you only found out about if you paid attention after the conference. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's way too many games that looked way better once you actually saw them in action than the trailers. And trailers are supposed to make games look better than they actually are.
Yeah.
Which means either they're not cutting the right trailers. I mean, to be fair, these games aren't finished yet, so they might not be able to cut the right kinds of trailers. But in that case, show off the gameplay of what's ready. Like, you can... Like, Sony's conference was slightly less than an hour this time. They could have extended that, showing gameplay of the games they actually had.
Yeah, the conferences don't butt up against each other like they used to in the past. To me, I mean, if you can have 3 hours for it if you want. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no artificial time limit like there used to be.
I'm not going to sit there for 3 hours.
No, but I mean, you could make it all one big show. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, you've got as much time as you want. Take your time with it.
Well, honestly, I would take, even if they are constricted to an hour, I would take like half as many games with twice as much gameplay for those games.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we don't... Yeah. Like, it was cool seeing, like, the fucking 30 indie games at the Microsoft conference, but I would prefer, like, maybe we didn't get a fucking sizzle reel for ID at Expo, but we got a full Crackdown 3 gameplay thing to show us what that game is.
Yeah.
Or, like, something like that.
Yeah, so that for me is the big negative. I don't think that... And maybe this is what actually impresses investors. I don't know. I'm not an investor. But it's not getting gamers excited about what people are putting out.
Like, every E3 for the past years, people have just been like, just show the games. We don't want to see your fucking people on stage. Fucking, like, stop, like, having all these people. Like, and that's what everyone's been yelling, like, at every E3. And they did it this year, and it wasn't very good.
Yeah, because they didn't show enough of the games.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was mixed results. I think it was good for games that we kind of know what they are. Do you know what I mean? To see like a sizzle reel for it or like a highlight trailer. But like what I'm saying, like, is if I don't even know what the game is and all I'm seeing is a non-gameplay 30-second trailer, I don't know what the hell I'm even supposed to be excited about yet. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about every single one of the indie games that Microsoft announced, except for Ori and Cuphead.
Yeah, because you know enough about those two games.
Because we know, like, we've seen the previous Ori, we know how that plays. We've seen plenty of content.
Like last night and all that, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I like the way they explained A Way Out. They actually kind of like really tried to explain how much it'll like influence everything and your decisions and how you cooperate.
They only really showed like 5 games, so they actually had time to do that. Like, because fucking look how many games Microsoft and Sony showed compared to like what EA showed. Like, they had so
I mean, that's comparing like a platform to a publisher. I don't know if that's entirely fair, but again, Sony managed to not show off their quirky side, and I think that makes them look like they don't have much that's interesting on the horizon.
Yeah.
Well, they have Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
There you go.
They announced some DLC for that game.
Coming soon.
Yeah, don't forget, because they showed you every 10 seconds.
DLC
My negative
at E3 conferences is weird to me, and I don't like it. Like,
yeah,
it is, and Sony.
If I had the game, I would be buying the DLC and be paying attention to whether it's coming out. And if I don't have the game, the DLC is not going to convince me to get it. So why are you doing this at your conference? Because, like, we got the fucking...
For investors. That's what it's for.
Bethesda had DLC, didn't they? They showed off the fucking Sonic thing. Like, I want to see more games. I don't want to see games that are already out.
And that's the problem.
Yeah,
with
I think unfortunately this
is that it's kind of this whole, we need to have our cake and eat it too. We need to appease both the shareholders and the people that actually buy our products at the same time, and you're not going to please both.
Yeah, that's kind of my negative.
It's extremely difficult.
I think that people chatting on the stream should be able to influence what happens on the stage with the points they get from watching the concert.
Yeah, but then you get somebody to say take it off, and then we have a whole nother problem.
That's true.
No, I think once you build up like say 500 energy, you should be able to like pie Sean Layden.
Or you should like
be able to do
say
that from level 1.
you should like just say Shenmue 4 and Shenmue 4.
Hey, yeah, that's what they really needed was to announce a Kickstarter for Shenmue 4.
A second
circle would have been complete.
It'd be a second Kickstarter for the same game.
At least
I think that's actually
Oh,
happened.
yeah, that's
before.
right.
One step up from last year. Like,
We're announcing Kickstarter 2 on Kickstarter 1. We're gathering money for a new Kickstarter. Thank you.
We're gathering money to make a crowdfunding platform.
I actually want to start a game called Kickstarter.
Or Kickstarter 2, the sequel to Kickstarter.
Yeah,
I don't
we
Kickstarter.
won't make a Kickstarter 1, and it'll be a beat 'em up.
There's always that Kick Puncher movie from Community. Yeah, so that was E3. Any other thoughts you guys want to share on it before we bring this podcast to a
Fuck
close?
David
I had
Cage.
fun. I had fun
Conference.
watching it.
I think
I think
be in charge of every conference from now on.
Oh yeah, definitely. We are the
I
best.
don't know how that would look. I think that would be a lot. There'd be a lot more blood on the stage. That's for sure.
But it'd be fun blood.
Fun blood. It'd be happy
Oh
blood.
no, guys! I'm getting taken over by people from the chat.
There's too much blood on the dance floor.
Shenmue 4.
Yeah, too
Shenmue
much blood.
4.
That. Yeah. So, just for our listeners, if you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast, we have a website, avocadogamescast.wordpress.com, where we post each episode and we post a link dump so you can look at links of all, to all the stuff we discussed. You can also subscribe on iTunes or Google Play Music. Just search for Avocado Gamescast. Any other thoughts before we call this podcast to a close?
We did it.
Or
Yeah, this is a long one. This was longer than we intended.
I know. I was looking at the time. I
we'll
was like, "Is he going to go ahead and cut this?"
yeah,
Yeah,
Good
I was,
luck.
I was
Good
trying.
luck
I
editing
tried
this.
my
Good luck
best. And
editing this.
at the end, I was just like, you know what? I give up. Let them talk. Let the children
I'm
have
sorry,
their fun.
Kappa.
I'm all right.
I'm
I
very
just want to
sorry.
be out sometime.
Yeah,
and,
no. If Kappa were actually like Kappa sometimes types to me, he's just like, cut it off now. But today he wasn't, so I was like, okay, we're good.
He's
We're
like, just drop him from the call.
good. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye now.
Bye.